angle, the height, everything else good?
Welcome, yes again. Our skeleton grew some skin. A little Benjamin Button action going on here. No, we have in the studio Dr. Joe Aniello. He's done a little bit with us before, and
Of course, I'm beardless now.
You're beardless
You might
now?
not recognize me, and I might not be.
and you lost your Einstein hairdo.
No, yeah. like Samson, I just lost all my mental strength as well.
A big old move across the country will do that to you.
Yeah. My son negotiated the goatee, so trying to.
Did he?
Yeah, he said he'd behave better if I shaved it. So I'll try anything with him. 15-year-old boys, they're not that well behaved. At least mine isn't.
You'll have to. I was telling Joe before we started, I got like 3 hours of sleep last night. I'm a little
We're doing a
zonky.
4-hour stream today, boys. Let's go.
18-hour stream.
But Joe, I know it's been a while since you've been on the show. We got some pretty solid viewership, or at least consistent, and we enjoy that. People like Jack. We'll read through those here in a second.
Well, good.
Imperfect Citizen, Second Coins. Welcome, Tim Bob.
Since my book didn't sell previously, maybe the increased viewership will spread the word a little bit more.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all can see that. It's called Sunken Leadership.
Sunken leadership.
Was it a series of essays, unconventional essays suggesting how and why America managed to miss the boat on doing the right thing?
Basically comparing and contrasting management and leadership. So it's not a New York Times bestseller because I don't work at Fox, but
And you wrote it yourself.
and I wrote it myself. That's always a problem, right?
Yeah, you need a ghostwriter, apparently. Let's see. Jack says, moreover, Trump is lucky as hell that the pharma couple got caught cheating. The boomers are going wild about it. So we're gonna talk about the misdirection stuff. We're gonna talk about what's going on and what's not going on.
I was gonna say
There's a lot of cope coming out of the administration today, dude.
the cope. Oh, I was gonna
lot of
bring up
cope
the
coming
CEO thing. Did you, like some people are saying it's a distraction, a little schizo in my opinion, but
Well, I'm not saying
Maybe.
I wouldn't say it was set up, but why not leverage it, right?
sure. Okay, yeah, sure. That's
You know what he's talking about?
Yeah,
The Coldplay?
yeah.
Okay.
My question is why you had a Coldplay concert in the first place, but that's just my that's my musical prejudice, I guess.
Yeah, we're gonna dial into a lot of stuff. Is this the Joe? Yes, Milkman. This is the Joe. Let's see. Happy Monday,
Joe
boys.
from Florence.
Theology. Welcome.
You know
Joshua.
who's been tuning into a few of our streams? Anthony from North Carolina. You remember him?
Of course I do.
He's
yeah.
been tuning into a few of our streams.
Yeah.
And Jim from Florence.
And Jim from Florence. Yeah, you know
Milk-
Jim from
that's
Florence?
Milkman.
Yep.
The Milkman is Jim from Florence.
And
You need to call in to Ken's show, and we're going to talk about the show this morning a little bit.
Yeah, we're gonna.
I guess to give you all a little preview of what we're going to kind of dive into is, well, we have the Boomer on set, so I want to get a different kind of perspective on these things we're talking about. I don't want a black pill, man. I don't want to do it. So maybe you got a little bit of white pill for us. So we're going to dive into that, get a little bit of perspective from that angle. And he was a professor of leadership, marketing, management, business.
Basic business organizational development. Yeah.
So we're going to dive into that aspect and how that replicates throughout Trump and how maybe it's changed in the last couple of weeks.
Yep. I got some ideas on that.
So we're going to dive into that. We've got a lot to talk about. So before we do, go ahead and like the stream if you're here. And if you're not subs, most of you are, go ahead and do that. And give us a share if you don't mind. Other than that, Josh, anything before we dive into, I guess I want to touch on y'all's show this morning really briefly.
Okay. I guess the regulars here, we don't need to explain my job and like what we're talking about, do we? Do you think?
Josh works for two boomers that do live radio and have been doing it for like 30 years.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anyway.
And
Conservative radio. Very much like what we do, just not as good.
and what's frustrating is I've worked in radio, years before. I've worked I've worked with people that it's just like Sean Hannity. These people that they just like are reciting things. It's like a play almost. Rather like they have no agency. The host of this show He's actually a thoughtful and engaging guy. He's definitely very entertaining, and
Go ahead.
what's frustrating is that he's almost there. Like he's open-minded and thoughtful enough to where like the truths that are so obvious to us, they're breaking through a little bit, but there's just these roadblocks, these barriers that just get in the way sometimes.
Ownership, advertisers, things like that.
Well, I don't even mean that. I mean just inherent within him, like his upbringing and stuff like that. And I think at a lot of times Zeb's going to get Josh in trouble probably.
No. Josh wants to get in trouble.
Josh
He's
is going to
too
get
scared
Josh in
to
trouble.
do
I've seen progress on Ken's part.
He's been
And we can talk about that
improving
too.
on certain
There's a
foreign relations.
There's
Yeah.
a limit at which I don't think boomers can cross, and I think, and no, nothing against you, Joe, but there's some limit that it's not possible for you to cross. I think it's an experience thing. Like you can have an understanding of something you don't experience, but that puts a ceiling on what you're able to understand. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, because I think the older you are, the longer you live, the more exceptions you've found to the rule, right? Normally, this is the rule, these are the exceptions. Well, after 70 years, I've seen so many exceptions that, I'm not necessarily as surprised. It's almost like the exceptions have become the rule. And so it kind of changes your perspective a little bit. But, as Josh has said, I try to be fairly open-minded for someone with who's as long in the tooth as I am.
Yeah, definitely so. And that's the thing is it's like, this isn't even an accusation. I mean, by the time Zeb and I are in our 50s, 60s, and 70s, the 20-year-olds of that time will be saying, you know what, you guys, like, they'll probably be saying the same stuff we say about Reagan. It's like, you guys never shut up about this Trump guy.
Yeah.
Like Trump's dead. He's been gone for so long, and it's like, yeah, maybe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Lay out the conversation they were having this morning about how everything's so much more expensive than they thought it was, and they don't really have to buy anything or spend any money or buy a house or buy a car because they're already situated. Kind of lay out that discussion, and then we can dive into it.
Right. So I don't know how much you heard about that, chat, but basically, so this morning on the show, did you catch the show this morning?
Bits and pieces when I was running errands.
Bits and pieces. So they were talking about the economy, price of eggs, price of housing, like the price of everything these days. How you like they were ranting about like pizza shops. That's how it kind of got started, and they were saying, it's like $14 for you to get a small pizza. You know what I mean? And so that kind of got the ball rolling, and that spiraled into basically how we're in a situation. The host is saying, he goes, we're in a situation, as I've got kids, they're trying to make their way, and he's got two sons in his 30s, and they can't buy a house.
Yep.
And they're in their 30s.
Yeah.
And it was like Josh, me, who's almost 30, I'm 27. That's not even on my radar. That's not even anywhere near what I'm capable of. Like, I'm essentially living paycheck to paycheck, and I'm 27, and it's believe me, I'm extremely frugal. It's through no fault of my own. It's because of how much things cost and how little wages are. You know what I mean? And it is one of those things where they brought up a study. This actually, I don't think they mentioned this today, but they mentioned this on Friday, this past week, how there was some study talking about how the majority of young people these days don't believe hard work gets you ahead. And I get why people would think that. I mean, like, the truth is it does, but it doesn't get you like nearly as much as it used to.
Yeah.
And so basically what they were saying, the conclusion was, we're kind of well off because we were able to get all these assets when, even like the inflation, everything, it was so cheap. Even by those days' standards, it was much cheaper than it is today. Now it's so expensive, and the wages have barely gone up compared to the price of houses and housing. And basically, due to all of these economic, like the boomers owning assets and whatnot, the current generation, this generation is screwed.
Well, let me butt in here real quick. First of all, I cut the ads back to like every 24 minutes. So if they become an issue, let me know. We'll cut them back. I think if you're a member, you don't get ads. So, but on that note, I guess you kind of laid it out a little bit. The reason I believe people don't think that hard work gets you anywhere is because we live in this meritocracy, and this meritocracy that has been built by and for a people that is relatively homogenous, right? And there's a high trust society. And so when you live in a not high trust society and there's a meritocracy that exists, what fuels that meritocracy, or at least to the top of that meritocracy? How do you get to the top of the meritocracy?
Merit, ideally.
What if it's not high trust, though, is the question.
Well, production.
Credentials.
Yeah, I mean,
What if I just say that I have the merit?
Oh, like lying on a resume.
so who measures the merit is what you're asking.
It's not measurable is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm arguing.
That's what he's saying is it's
And-
like,
and even if you
like
do
how
wanna
can you
ma-
trust a sheet of paper that someone sent you about themselves? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, like
Or
if you're
even references.
if you're a salesman, like if you're a car salesman, right? You get paid commission based on how many cars you sell. But salespeople, that may be only one category of profession where they have an objective measure.
Now we have someone. No, we're talking about someone that already has a job and how to measure that merit once they get the job. But the problem is you can't fire people anymore.
Right.
And so we lie about our merit on the job application. And so all merit-based system is in a low trust environment is who can lie harder. And this is what we have. It's not about hard work, because hard work doesn't give you that. It doesn't get you that opportunity. Lying gets you the opportunity. And once you get the opportunity, you can maintain that position regardless, because you can't fire anyone, especially if you're not white, because then you can just sue on the basis of race.
Do you think, in addition to lying, do you think it may have to do with political factors like I like you, or you're a yes man?
Nepotism?
Nepotism.
Yeah, to some extent.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
but
Yeah,
again,
it's-
it's not objective. It's very subjective measures.
Well, I would argue that a pure meritocracy isn't possible. But
Yeah.
I was just assuming, we can just assume that it is. And then we still come to the same conclusion. That whoever wins in this meritocracy off of quote unquote hard work is the one that lies about the hard work the best.
Well, and I can only, I guess, make anecdotal observations, not statistical, but, you know, in the 1950s and 60s, you would have a single worker, a dad, single breadwinner, a stay-at-home mom, and really somewhat of average intelligence, average education, average effort of productivity. Yet, he could own a house in the suburbs, he could be member of a club, send his kids to college, go on vacation, and that person really would be very, very average. And I think since the 1980s, you have to be, I guess, good has become the new average. You know, there is no more fair or poor. Those people have gotten weeded out for whatever reason. So it certainly seems like it's harder to get further ahead these days. And even if you exert the same effort, you're not going to experience the same upward mobility as I did. My dad was a carpenter, yet I was able to go to college and move up a social strata. I'm not so sure that's possible for your generation right now.
Yeah, and essentially, it's like that. That's the problem. You both raised good points. Where it's like where do we go from here? Like, we acknowledge the problem, and that was my main problem with what they were talking about on Wake Up Carolina, on the show I work for. Is, you know what? Here's the problem. You know, here's a problem we have. But we've known this as a problem for years. how do we fix it? What's the point in recognizing we have problems if we don't do anything about it? And obviously, like something has to change, and we can quibble about what that is. I would argue like something politically has to be done. But if the politics is all about winning elections and cutting Social Security, cutting all these Medicare, Medicaid, all these benefits and whatnot, all this, if you have to cut all the free lunch boxes, all the free lunches, people are going to piss and moan and stomp their feet, and then they're not going to go out and vote.
And they're going to be convinced that's the justification for not working harder because it doesn't pay off.
Exactly.
It's a lower return on investment. And I know a lot of people thought Trump was that political answer. And I know you feel since he's become the president, he's kind of backing off on a lot of that, destructive and, bull in the china shop kind of promises of shaking up the system.
Exactly.
Yeah. Stacking Coin says it's not measurable before they start working. Correct. But you can quickly gauge within a couple days, which I kind of mentioned. He said, "Oh, you can certainly measure merit during work. I do it daily. I work with HR very closely to remove the bad apples. Never had any issue, but my state is good like that." And it depends on the state. It depends on the company. It depends on everything. But if they wanted to, if they really, really wanted to, this is what it would end up with.
Logan brings up a crazy story.
Yeah. Did you hear about that lady that got fired from Equinox in Manhattan? She was late 47 times in 10 months, and she sued because of race. She said she got fired for racism, and she won.
She won?
It's a jury, and she won $11 million.
No.
Yes, she did.
No. She was
working-
late 47 times?
Not only that, like, you were working at Equinox. Like, you could work for all of time, and
Yeah.
you'll never make $11 million.
What Joe is saying is not a joke. Here is some context so you understand the full story. A Manhattan federal jury has delivered a landmark verdict in a discrimination.
That's basically the point I want to make. This isn't an isolated case. I mean, 11 million is probably extreme, but suing on the basis of race, being fired on the basis of race when you actually weren't, when it goes to a jury duty, when it goes to a jury trial, all they have to do is say, yeah.
It
But
was
now if
racist.
we-
That's racist.
That's racist. Now, if you want to go even beyond that and look at some of the data when it comes to minorities on jury trials, relative to who is again on the stand, it's like something like 47% more of them convict based on race. So they use race as a basis, and they've done this over thousands of studies. So this is the problem when you have a merit-based society in a non-homogeneous country that people can just lie and get their way. That's the problem.
Yeah.
But it's hard work, Josh.
It's hard work.
It's hard work. You got to work hard, dude. Nobody's denying that we have to work hard. I don't think any of us here are denying that. I don't think anybody out there is denying that. The problem is that our hard work is being usurped by liars. And then we get called racist, bigot, homophobic, whatever you want to call it, Nazi at the end of the day because we oppose being invaded. Anyway, I just want to get that off my chest. But I guess back to the actual conversation they were having is everything's so much more expensive. So where do you start? How do you fix this thing? And the people that have the power are the ones that are now recognizing it. So what are you going to do about it? They're the ones that can change this. They have 50% of the wealth. The boomers hold like 50% of all wealth in America.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to transfer that wealth to the better side or the better people within a generation, you have the power to do that. But what are we doing? We're all selfish. We're all taking these trips to wherever we want to go, cruising our life away. I watched a video the other day about it was a cruise where these boomers sold everything they had and put all their money into this cruise till you die concept. They're just going to live their life. They're like 67, 68 years old. They're going to go on a cruise literally until they die.
Yeah.
That's an extreme example, but I think that's what all of them are doing to some extent.
It's kind of like a variation on the reverse mortgage scam, right? Just, yeah, give them everything, and then just, at what point, though, do the people on the ship kind of facilitate your dying to start becoming more profitable, right? We don't want, it's like insurance companies. They don't want you to live to 100. You know, they want you to die at 75 because
Right.
it's more profitable, right? It's a gambling thing based on longevity.
Anyway, I wanted to get that out. Sorry, guys. If that was boring, I don't think it was.
No, it was
I had to
interesting.
get it off my chest. This is,
You know,
this is
just
rant today.
just add something to that. I mean, you talk about hard work, investment. My niece married a lawyer. Her husband's a lawyer. She's a doctor of nurse practitioning. The two of them live in Southern Florida. They cannot afford a house. They have to commute over an hour to be able to afford a house to work at their jobs in Southern Florida. I mean, these are people like your age, between 27 and 30, who've done all the right things, kind of the American dream thing, and they're living at his parents' house so they could save up to maybe get a house that's an hour away from their work.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I was very fortunate to grow up in a home where, you know, like my grandfather was very old school with my dad. You know, you're gonna make your own way, you're gonna work hard no matter what. If I catch you slacking off, I'm gonna beat your ass. And my dad basically put himself through medical school and became a doctor. And he said the same thing to me. He recited the same line. He was like, hey, when you're 18, you're out the house. If you want to stay in the house, you got to pay rent. You got to do this. You got to do that. You got to have a job. And I got a job and I was working hard. But my dad quickly realized it's not the same world. And he was able, you know, like he basically, and I've seen this with a couple of my friends and not a couple others, where their parents basically realized the best thing I can do for my kid financially is to let them stay at home as long as possible. And other parents, they were more strict, you know, they just like strict. And funny enough, it was the richer parents that they were like, you have to be out of here and on your own by the time you're 18. And basically these, I've heard it before, you know, when we've talked about, it's not the exact same, but it's a similar issue where basically like I've got family members who went into the medical field and they can't find a job because of like not medical, sorry, but like scientific or STEM, you know what I mean? And then basically they can't find a job because all those jobs are getting outsourced to H-1B visa holders. And so like Americans, they can't do anything. Like, you know, you work hard and then you're still just as well off or less so well off than your parents who had a, you know, by like, you know, a doctor who's the son of a plumber is doing just as well as his dad did at that age.
Yeah. No, and I will tell you, I mean, some of the decisions I made and I'm making have to do with the fact that my kids might have to live with me longer. They might have to come back after undergraduate school. I guess I kind of get this feeling this might be the last chance to get my kids into the upper middle class. And I'm kind of doing all I can to give them a chance before the boat sails.
Right.
I'm not saying I'll be successful, but I recognize how difficult it's going to be and how those positions are going to be so much fewer. I'm trying to do all I can to give my kids a shot at it, even though it's a
Yeah.
longer shot than it was when I was their age.
Well, and another point, I don't know if you wanted to say, butt in, Zeb, but basically another point, the example Zeb brought up, which I had heard about too, of this couple that instead of going into a retirement home, they were putting all their money into a cruise ship. And again, you could say like retirement cruise ship, it's really the same thing to me, basically. But the point being is it's like, it's case by case. I get like like young people also don't want to take care of their parents anymore. It's one thing or the other, but people don't think of their money and their assets like they used to. They don't think of it as something to pass down. It's like, I am going to die. All of this stuff that I've accumulated should go to my children who I love. Instead, I mean, really, a lot of people are raising their kids very selfishly from the get-go, so the thought never even enters their heads. But it's like think about like imagine your money like your blood, and you have and your blood. It's something powerful. It has meaning. It has stuff. And instead of giving that to your children, instead of giving that to your next of kin, you're giving it to Carnival Cruise. You're giving it to whoever owns stock in that.
Or I'm legislated into giving it to a needy illegal alien.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Even worse, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'd like to bring up something that I've been thinking about the last couple of weeks. You know, with these Epstein files, we've seen people like Dan Bongino. You know, when he was a radio host, he was all about exposing the Epstein situation. Pam Bondi, all geared up on exposing all of this stuff. And now they're kind of changing their tune. Well, as someone who teaches leadership, there's a factor that affects leaders, no matter how well-intended you are, no matter how visionary you are. You cannot ignore the environmental pressures, right?
Right.
Just like, you know, remember that old line, if you want to make God laugh, tell him about your plans.
Yeah.
Or, you know, you can't fool Mother Nature. I think in some ways, Dan Bongino, the radio host, was genuine. But Dan Bongino, the assistant FBI director, can't be the radio host genuine. And the thing you have to understand about leadership is the environment puts a lot of pressure on you. You can't be the same person. I mean, think about it. I was a professor. You know, the professors were brown-nosing me all along. But you know, when they're in the halls with their friends, they're complaining about my assignments, right? You
The
curse
students,
with,
you mean?
pardon me?
The students, you mean?
Students, yes. Sorry.
Okay.
You know, you curse with your friends, but you don't curse at your grandmother's dining room table.
Right.
So it's not totally foreign to think that the context we're in will influence or inform how we behave. So you can be, Ken Ard on his radio show, but if Ken Ard all of a sudden became lieutenant governor, he couldn't have the same provocative opinions because of the position, because of the environment, because of the pressures, just like, you know, the pressures that form a tornado or the pressures that form a hurricane. And so, you know, Bongino's going to make a choice. Would you rather resign the position and go back to speaking your truth, or are you going to kind of play the game that politicians are forced to play differently than radio hosts are forced to play?
Well, and I get that to a point, but my pushback on that point would be this: is a big part of the reason we voted for Donald Trump is in the first place is because we all knew that. It was like, okay, we always get Republicans or we always get Democrats promising this, this, and this. Then they get in and neither side really does what they say they're going to do. Why is that? Oh, well, there's these political pressure, you know, the checks and balances and whatnot. And so we hear a guy who's like, it's this, the system doesn't work for you because it's designed not to. It's how it is today is it doesn't work for the people at all. And that's exactly how it's supposed to be. That's exactly how they want it to be.
Yeah.
I'm coming in and I'm going to drain the swamp. I'm going to make things better. And then he gets in and he doesn't do any of that. And then the excuse is, they're, you know, it's, you got to play the game. You got to play politics. And I get that you do, but like playing politics has meant the same thing for 70, 80 years. Maybe it needs to mean something else. And we thought that was Donald Trump. Doesn't seem like it is now.
But maybe it's impossible for anybody because candidate Trump is different than President Trump. The only one who's maybe been able to resist the temptation of positional pressures is Jesus H. Christ. You know, maybe he's the example of what we should strive for, but human nature does not allow us to do that on earth. No matter who it is. Because name someone historically who's been able to do that except Jesus. They all knuckle under the pressures of their position.
Well, I guess to Josh's point is that we knew what we were getting, or Trump knew what he was getting the second go around. So why make all these promises that he knew he wouldn't get? It's not like, oh, I'm gonna promise you the world, and then I'm gonna get in there, try to do it, and then realize, oh, I can't. Right? That was 2016. 2024. He knew what he was getting into and still promised the world. This is the problem. And so the question is, what were those promises? We're going to kind of dive into some of this cope that's coming out of the Trump administration. This is Matt Gaetz. I kind of want to touch on, you were talking about different people in different roles. Matt Gaetz should be an AG role, but that's besides the point. Anyway, he's got a show on OAN. He's doing okay, I guess. Not as good as he would if he was in...
Attorney General?
Yeah, if he was AG.
Well, and maybe 75% is the best anyone could do. Maybe Trump feels like, I can deliver 75% of my promises. That's a better batting average. Just like, a guy who bats 400 still makes an out 60% of the time, but no one can bat better than that. So maybe we got to be happy with 75, 80% as the best we can hope for. Because with Biden, you got 32%. You got nowhere near above 50%.
Yeah, but I don't even think we're close to that.
I don't even think we're getting 25%.
Well, we did one Friday. We did a review of our Agenda 47 Friday, and it was like we got 2 out of 20 so far. Right, I'm still waiting on the wall from 2016. So if we look at something like that, which he could have put in the big beautiful bill, which he didn't.
But isn't
that would have been chump change in the big beautiful bill?
Isn't the goal zero immigration? Does it matter if there's a wall or not, as long as there's no one coming across?
Yes, it does.
Yes, and here's why. If you create a physical border, it cannot be removed. If you do not create a physical border, they can just let everything flow through after Trump's out of office.
Yeah.
The wall
The enforcement
matters.
is legislative, which can be undone in the next Democratic administration. If Trump builds a physical wall, they cannot tear it down politically.
But didn't Biden sell the sections of the wall that were laying on the ground?
Don't care.
Well, yeah, because it wasn't finished.
Right, but why can't the next liberal progressive president say we're going to dismantle the wall?
Force them to. It's actual physical labor that has to happen instead of writing a pen sign, auto pen, if you will.
Yes.
Well,
it will take.
I certainly agree. Yeah, it'd be harder to take down the wall than
And
just
even because obviously the physical wall, it's not going to have zero openings. Like clearly, like there will be openings, but the point is they'll be monitored. And even a Democrat administration can very loosely monitor those coming through the border. But like there are political realities that affect the Democrats too. The Democrats coming on the scene and then wanting to tear down a $14 billion wall, it's not a good look even for them. Them not enforcing the border security at an opening in the wall at all, if it's literally just a swinging door, that's still not a good look for them. What they persist on, what the immigration crisis persists on, is that people can just walk through into our country anywhere and show up anywhere. That's where they're able to slip 10 million illegals past the goalpost. The truth is, if Trump had built the wall in 2016 and then Biden came in and said we're going to let in as many as possible, it would not be as many as got through because a physical barrier does have a limit. It does provide a barrier.
Well, don't get me wrong. I'm all for the wall.
Sure. Yeah. We know.
But in terms of your concern is in terms of priorities, it's dropped down the list.
He's not even
from what he
talking about it.
promised.
He's not even talking about it.
No, the wall doesn't even exist in rhetoric anymore.
Yeah.
Because he knows he can't achieve it.
Yeah. He never said build a wall in 2024 or 3.
Jack said, let me make this a little bit bigger. When we pay income taxes, we give the politicians a bag of money to auction off the money in exchange of a cut, and they are all working together with the exception of maybe 20 congressmen. I would say that is a very high number, that 20. The country taxes their citizens 33% under a year. They're under
threat.
A year under threat, sexual assault in prison, and sends the money to us is being the greatest country worth it. Ralph Chipkin, welcome to the stream. This is what we're going to get into here next. The Trump arc, if you will, over the last 6 months, specifically the last 2 weeks. Joe, you've been very vocal about how good of a leader Trump has been. What does that look like on the back of the Elon falling out? Are we still white pilling, or is Trump's leadership, his bad decisions, good decisions? I don't know. What is your take on this when it comes to, I guess, Epstein, Elon, Israel, Iran, all of it?
Well, as you know, the hypothesis of my book is to contrast leaders and managers, okay? Now, there are good leaders, there are good managers, there are bad leaders, bad managers. The only point I was making is because of his vision, I think Trump was qualified in the leadership category. Now, how we evaluate him as a leader remains to be seen. But I do think he's trying things that are different that qualifies him as a leader. He's not just managing the status quo. And certainly he's not having people tell him what to do. It remains to be seen whether we put him up on Mount Rushmore or not. But if you compare him to some of the presidents we've had in my lifetime, he seems to be the most leadership oriented.
I would agree with the sentiment that Trump is a leader. And I do agree with what you said, where you said it remains to be seen if he's a good one. And so if I could restate Zeb's question for him, based on the events of the past couple of weeks with Elon and him falling out, with this clear backpedaling and denouncing his base over the Epstein files thing, what direction has the dial swung?
Well, as a professor, I would have to give him a B.
A B.
At midterms, at midpoint of this year, I think 2025, 6 months, he's gotten a B from me.
A B.
A B, 85%.
We
rating.
grading on a curve here?
Well, we don't have any other presidents.
Well, we are because all the other students, the other presidents did so bad, right?
Well,
I guess so.
No, well, I mean, I give him an A compared to Biden, but we're not concerned with Biden. I'm just saying, based as our president, 6 months through 2025, I give him a B. Now, that doesn't mean he could end up with an A. He could ace the final. He could end up with a D. There's still, 3.5 years to go.
Well, yeah, and I guess the last thing I would say about that is essentially it's one of those things where we don't do ourselves any favors by rationalizing it. You know what I mean? Like, so often when you listen to my show on Saturdays, I was very critical of Trump, even leading up to the 2024 election.
You wouldn't vote for him.
I didn't vote for him. and I got kicked off. And I got a lot of crap for that with the host, with all the audience and whatnot. They couldn't understand it. And my point was just that, like, look, I like the guy. I think he's a good leader, and he's very inspirational to me. Like, he's the reason I'm so invested in politics the way that I am. And I think he's doing a bad job, and I think it's okay to say that. I guess the question is it's like, I think, not so much a question, but more of a statement is, I think it's time that we stop saying, well, everyone, like, the American system in politics, it's bad. It doesn't work. Just because he's less bad than what we've gotten before doesn't mean he's doing a good job.
Right. But I know that in a perfect world, you would want a Christian dictator, right? The problem is he's dealing with 3 branches of government. At least
but here's the thing. I understand that. And that's what I was kind of getting at is that is the typical line that you hear. That's what Dave Baker says. That's what Ken Ard says. That's what they say. But I think if let's isolate an event. He came out and said, and you could say this is politically smart, politically dumb, whatever. But he came out and said, they made a statement. The Epstein files, it's fake. This is all drummed up. It's no big deal. The base was like, what the hell? We don't believe that at all. His response was to call them stupid and to say they're no longer my supporters. Politics aside, just take those factors and put whatever dress on them you want. You know, if that's a businessman and with something else, that is clearly to me not good leadership.
I think you're right, and that those are still areas of his weakness. You know, ego and politics are kind of the curse of leadership, and I think that's why maybe he would fall short compared to the greatest leaders. But where America, I think, suffers or falls short is the Romans had a Senate, the Romans had a court, but yet in times of trouble, they had a benevolent despot, which is kind of like your Christian dictator.
Yeah.
And the Romans were smart enough to know there are times when we can't waste all of our time treading water. And they would appoint someone to do what's best for the country. And since we don't have that mechanism, I don't know if we're ever going to get out of the morass of the three branches fighting each other.
That's exactly what our points are.
I mean, that's basically our argument, is that the system is built to not have great leaders. It is built to oppose that, a Caesarian uprising, right?
Yeah, the quality of leadership is really something that gets watered down and fought tooth and nail by the system. But that's democracy. You know, it's a messy form of government.
Jack says, three branches of government in Israel. How do you tell them no? Good leaders don't show weakness to a foreign government. Good leaders don't allow their underlings to call another country the greatest country. Right? This is what some of our politicians are calling Israel. America's the greatest country besides Israel. Right? That's a quote from multiple people in the administration.
Well, when I guess you self-describe yourself as God's chosen people, it's kind of hard to accept that anything or anyone else is better than you.
So would you oppose one of those leading or any position of government?
Oppose who?
Someone that
Netanyahu?
Someone that self-describes themselves as God's chosen people, has dual citizenship to another country, and would praise that country above America itself.
Well, that has been one of my, in my opinion, that is one of the historical causes of anti-Semitism, because the loyalty is always to their culture as opposed to their citizenship. And so...
so would you bar them from holding public office?
Someone with another passport?
Sure.
Yeah.
Totally, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
On that same note, the Epstein stuff isn't going away and is going to be a major problem going forward unless they reveal everything. That would implicate Israel, so you know that's not going to happen. I've been scrolling all day, dude. Maybe not all day, but a good bit today. There's nothing on Epstein. It's all I think they're trying to flood the feed, and we're gonna get to that in a second. I know I'm taking my time here, but they're trying to flood the feed with cope, like weird cope. Between the Tulsi DNI stuff, they released some Hillary Clinton stuff.
Yeah.
Today, it's like they're trying to flood the feed to get rid of the Epstein stuff no one's talking about, right? Because what happened Friday, Josh? Did we get the files that we were promised on Friday that we were promised on Thursday?
Nope.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Even the capitulation, we didn't even get that.
We didn't get anything.
But that's not unprecedented. Look at the...
It is when you promise it, right? We keep hearing promises made, promises kept. And when you promise something, you say, okay, we're going to release the Epstein files. We're going to be the most transparent. Here's phase 1 of the Epstein files. Oh, there's nothing in there. Well, they never existed, but we're going to give you the grand jury trial. Oops, you're not getting that either because the court's holding it up, and now we're going to flood the feed and not mention it ever again. So this is the problem. It just keeps kicking the can down the road, saying that you're the most It's self-aggrandizing in the face of all the people that trusted you, right? He called his base stupid and then wants to go out and just lie to us as if we didn't hear what we just heard.
But I mean, didn't the Congress promise us to get to the bottom of all the Biden corruption?
I don't care about
all
Congress, though, is the problem.
Yeah, but to me, the same political effect is in play here. Okay, the people who promised us to get Hunter Biden to talk, people who are testifying about Biden's mental state are taking the fifth. Is that any different than calling your detractor stupid? I mean, politics is such an ugly game that this is, to me, this is par for the course. I mean, when are we getting the truth on anything? What, 50 years after the Kennedy assassination? Have we gotten Martin Luther King yet? Have we gotten Malcolm X yet?
Who promised those to us?
Well, I think various politicians at various times, including Joe Biden,
Most
promised
recently,
that
Trump.
he'd release them.
Most
And
recently,
Trump's one of
Trump. He promised every single one of them, except he kind of backpedaled on the Epstein thing a little bit, which I'll grant him that. But then he came around and said, we're the most transparent administration in the history. Here's the Epstein files. And then we got nothing. So,
but see, you may
were
be
promised all
looking
of
at
this.
Trump as being something different. I mean, Trump is just a political
Well,
president.
that's what he ran as.
That is what he ran as.
Well, they all did.
And here's another caveat
all
that I
do.
haven't.
Well, but Trump, and this is I was going to bring this up, but you said that they all ran on that. But what was different about Trump? And Nick Fuentes, who maybe you've heard of, and I know Zeb definitely
I've
has.
never heard of Nick.
I can't
in my
place
life.
the name. Yeah.
But he's basically come out and said as much that like he's America First. He has a show called America First, and he loves Donald Trump. But he's come out and said it's become apparent that Trump is a con artist and that he is exactly the same as all of them. But what's the difference? He sold it to us better. He's actually like basically. I'm agreeing with what you've said and implied. He is actually, in terms of product, no different than them. But what's the difference? He sold it to us better.
Well, I would also caveat that with he knew what he was getting into in his second term. He knew exactly what he was getting in his second term because he was there from 2016 to 20. He had 4 years to plan it. He had 3.5 years to plan his campaign. And he made all these promises, and now we're here, and now we have people like Stephen Miller saying this, or some of the congressmen saying this is the greatest 6 months of a presidency. It's like, maybe, but we still don't have anything. It's like we were talking about earlier. You're grading on a curve, the greatest 6 months of a presidency, but it's still bad.
Well, yes, and I think because politics is antithetical to leadership. And I just want to say that I want the Epstein files released for sure. But why is it surprising that Donald Trump sold us something? Isn't it, fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, shame on you? I mean,
Well, that's
Fool me again. This is what George Bush
whatever
said.
it is,
He goes,
caveat emptor, to buyer beware. You can't blame the salesman because you bought something. To me, he's not the least bit surprising. I've been watching him for 30 years. He's always been like this.
well,
Well, when my option is a chicken sandwich or a chicken sandwich, do you blame me for buying a chicken sandwich?
Well, it depends if it's chicken salad or chicken shit. And Trump made chicken salad out of chicken shit, and we all bought it.
that's kind of the problem. Is how do we know it's authentic?
I think the problem is my years have caused my expectations to be
I don't
lower.
think my
You
expectations
know-
were high. I just don't want to be lied to is the problem.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like we've talked on my show many times, and the audience knows
Because
from
he's
listening
not
to
a
us.
politician. He's not a politician,
There's
right?
things Zeb and I want.
But he's a used car salesman. Same thing.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to get at in a second. I'll let Josh finish, but yeah, I mean, he's a businessman. But I'm going to dive into that in half a second. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly the point. Is it's like we were hoping for some, like Zeb and I want a lot. We basically want like a segregated society, a Christian dictator. Those are big asks. We get it. But from Trump, what Trump was telling us he was going to give us, we're not even getting a little bit of that. And that's the thing, is like, even in this last term, I wasn't expecting to get a wall. And granted, he didn't say he was going to give it to us, but like, we're not even getting some of the attaboys, some of the red meat for the base that he ran on. We're not even getting that. Like,
But you're only giving him 6 months to deliver the whole campaign?
it's
not the 6 months.
specifically. I'll hone in on Epstein, because what he did was not okay. Well, we haven't, like, it's not like, okay, we're working on giving you the Epstein files and we just haven't given him enough time. They came out and said,
Day one.
much ado about nothing. There is no Epstein files. Don't worry about it. Which is not
on
what
the
he
back
said.
of saying we're going to release the Epstein files day
Yes.
one.
And it's not even like, okay, I'll look into the Epstein files. I looked into it. There is like, there's no list. There's not everything you
Yeah.
expected isn't there. Well, show us what is there. No. Why not? You know, it's clearly like it's the Epstein thing is very, very important, because it's not like what I was saying earlier. It's not one of these cases of Trump says he's going to build a wall. He gets in 2016. The Republicans won't even give him a wall. And you can blame it on the Republicans, which I think is absolutely warranted. Trump's what's Pam Bondi, the
AG.
Attorney General?
Attorney General.
Yeah.
Trump's AG came out and said, there's nothing. And then when we were like, yo, what the hell? What's up with this bitch? And sorry. And then Trump comes out and defends her. That's a betrayal of what he said. Like, that's not a point of, oh, mistakes were made. That is a 180.
Okay, but in the past, when people were pressured to release information, have you ever seen some of the information that with redacted, with the page is half black and half white? You know, I mean, getting a page released that's highly redacted, that does us no good either. Has he come out and said, I will never release the Epstein files?
He said they don't exist.
He said they don't. I mean,
So the address
Like-
book, he's saying the address book with the names doesn't exist?
yes.
He says it doesn't exist.
And that's the thing, is it's like, and I know you're not like saying this, but that's like well, why wouldn't Trump come out and say, I'm never giving you the files? Well, why would he say it like that? You know what I mean? Why would he come out and say, you're stupid? Because it's not smart. Because like no politician would do it. Julius Caesar wouldn't do that.
But he did.
But he did, because he's egotistical. And I'll be honest, and I said as much on the stream, Zeb's heard me say before, I think he's just stupid. I don't think he's as smart as we gave him credit for. And I'll include me. I didn't vote for him. I didn't see this coming. I expected to not get what we were promised. I didn't expect him to come out and say, I'm intentionally not giving you with what we were promised, and I'm going to lie about it.
Well, all smart people and all leaders have blind spots. He certainly has a blind spot about, you know, how he chooses to characterize people and whatnot. But, you know, from my point of view, if you say you could have the wall, you could have the Epstein files, or you could have the big, beautiful bill, I'm glad I've got my tax breaks. You know, I mean, I would like the Epstein files, I would like the wall, but you know, since I got to pay for college next year, I'm glad that the tax bill went through, because it's more relevant to me.
It's only more relevant to you in the short term, though. If you don't get your wall and you don't get your deportations, your tax breaks don't matter in 10 years. And this money that you're funneling into a school isn't going to matter in 10 years to your kids, because they're going to have nowhere to work because we've been invaded.
I agree with you 100% on that. So you're right. I may have been forced to be a little bit more short-sighted.
I'm not saying tax breaks are bad.
No,
Don't
no,
get
no.
me wrong.
But my perspective has focused more short-term as my daughter has got accepted into college, and I'm
I
going to
guess
get a
when
tuition
I
bill.
when I
Of
when I go to
course,
Cheesecake
yeah.
Factory, I want more than some breadcrumbs. You know what I mean? When I'm promised the first day at a Cheesecake Factory, and we don't get cheesecake or we don't get no Alfredo, there's a problem. You know, and I think that's what we're doing. We were promised Cheesecake Factory, and now we're getting, I don't know, Froyo, which isn't bad, but I need some food.
Well, yeah, and it's like, I mean, I don't know if I'm kind of getting off track here, but it's like with this, you know, instance specifically, it's like a lot of conservatives, like your typical conservative, especially here in South Carolina, this is what Ken Ard said, is Ken Ard is willing to kind of come to the table on these conversations, but one of the line he always peddles, and he said this last week, is all tax cuts are good to a certain extent. Like instead of let's sitting down and diagnosing why we want our taxes cut. Well, obviously we want more of the money we earn, but here's the thing, and Zeb and I have said this, I would be okay with paying more taxes if I thought that it was an investment towards me, towards my future, towards my children's future. If the government was spending the money towards larger projects that I thought would benefit my country and my children and my descendants in the long term, I'd be okay with it. But they're clearly not. Clearly, America is just a money laundering scheme, and it's a racket. And we're the suckers. We're the stores that are paying for protection. You know, here's my protection money. Protection from who? The people protecting me.
Well, I've often compared America to multi-level marketing. But if you want to pay 50% taxes and get free healthcare, free education, free transportation, and free utilities, you can go to Ireland, you can go to Sweden, go to Finland, Denmark, Norway. There are places that have a philosophy that is money laundering scheme. But they're not America. They're different countries.
Let me say this real quick, because I've been kind of shifting my position on this, and I know Randy disagrees with a lot of what we were saying. I've been watching him in chat.
I haven't seen
But
anything.
he says
said.
it's been done before, tax the rich. I am jumping off the bandwagon of trickle-down economics.
Oh, yeah.
I've been jumped off, but I'm announcing it now.
Yeah.
Trickle-down economics does
doesn't
not work.
It hasn't. They've tried it. It hasn't since Reagan, I guess, right?
Well, and here's the thing.
Shout out, Randy.
It might work if you had
It could work.
It could work if you had a high trust, homogeneous nation of people that had the same faith, the same ethnicity, the same character and whatnot. And I mean, yeah. And I'll give you a perfect example.
And that would be Switzerland. There are places we can go where we can get that.
I don't speak Swedish, and
Well, they speak either French or German, but yes.
they don't have a language.
I don't think so.
Who?
They have
the Swiss.
Swiss?
they have cheese. They have Swiss cheese.
No, I don't think they have. They
But
don't have their own
but
language.
I think I don't know.
know.
But there are places that really kind of are better aligned with what you're wanting for the states. Now, maybe we will evolve to give you more and more of those things, and maybe you will have the opportunity to influence people to kind of move in that direction. And I'm banking on your generation because I got 3 kids that are going to follow your generation's leadership. So I'm hoping you do it.
And I'm not singling you out here, Joe, but that's the thing is it's like we're getting to this critical mass point where for my entire life, the boomers and Gen, you know, it's basically like everyone below us is no good. They're all a bunch of spoiled, retarded brats. And that's the typical boomer sentiment. Like pick yourself up by your bootstraps like I did, you know? And now what we're seeing is some of them are coming around to your position. Ken Ard's a perfect example of the children. Okay, we're going to be dead before too long. The next generation, we're seeing how they're developing and they're going to fix the problem. Instead of realizing that why not make, even if you acknowledge that we can't fix the problem today, which I do, why not help in whatever way you can, which is, you know, like,
Well, they hold all the power. They hold all the
Exactly,
wealth.
yes.
You're the one that's able to actually fix the problem now instead of, hey, work harder, bootstraps, and then maybe you can fix the problem when you're my age. What this is the problem is that it's so selfish they can't see beyond their own death, right? This is kind of what we were getting at the beginning. On
Yeah.
a side note, the Big Beautiful Bill did fund the wall and ocean fencing even. So I do want to correct that. There is funding for the wall and various aspects of what would be the southern border in the bill, upwards of, like, I think it's $45 billion. So, Second Coins, thank you for that. I'll believe it when I see the wall. How about that? I'll believe it when I see it. I mean,
Well,
at
and
this
I'll,
point.
I'll give you an example of how circumstances and situations can influence. Okay, at my age, I could really have children that are 50 years old. And if I had children like 50 years old, I probably wouldn't care about the national debt. The fact that I have someone that's 15 years old makes me unusual, that I'm grandfather's age, but I'm a fatherly role. That has changed my outlook. If my kids were if we're 50 and up and out, I'd be spending my retirement fishing and cruising and golfing and doing all kinds of stuff. The circumstances I'm in have informed my politics. Have you ever heard that expression that the world is divided into people who think a yellow light means hurry up and go, and those who think it means hurry up and stop?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I used to be, it means hurry up and go. But when I have my kids in the car, I think it means hurry up and stop. When I'm by myself, I think it means hurry up and go. So I've gone from 2 possible options to 3 possible options. And that has to do with my circumstances and situation. And so the best Catholic, the best Christian, the best leader, the best American, the best patriot cannot help but not be influenced to some degree by the environment in which they're operating.
Well, of course. And I want to give you credit because I want to make this very clear. Zeb and I's critique of the boomers and the boomer mindset is not done as an attack on you because you're even more forward thinking than Ken. And you, I mean, especially as it relates to, like, we haven't really illustrated it, but for those of y'all watching at home, Joe is awake on the JQ. He understands the Jewish question very well. There's a chapter in his book about it. And so Joe gets it. Joe is not your average boomer. But I want to say this. The critique that Zeb and I have, we're putting forth there, and we're putting it out there for the world to see, not so that the boomers will see it and change their minds. That is not going to happen, at least not in the amount of numbers and in the way that it needs to in order for them to fix the problem. It's not going to happen. We're saying this so that when our generation comes of age, they don't make the same mistakes. We, for thousands of years, for all of human history, like our ancestors and some other cultures, the mindset was basically, I'm gonna die, and I love my child, I love my family. Let's make our village, let's make our community. We gotta make sure it keeps going. We gotta keep it going. We gotta make it strive. But the mindset of the boomers is take, keep. Oh, I've got all this wealth. I have enough money to spend on living out the rest of my life on a cruise ship. That's what I'm going to do because I want to, instead of investing it in something that matters, like the next gen, and like straight up just handing off the wealth to the next generation. And it just sounds like give me money, but it's not like that. It's like if they were acting like that, we wouldn't be in this situation. Eventually, the wealth will be redistributed.
Well, they love investing, but only if they have an ROI for themselves and not necessarily for them.
Yes.
And I've got to be honest. I mean, if I was in a different circumstance, I might be guilty of that boomer stuff. I'm not here to say that I've always been enlightened, but I never really felt, I always lived frugally and modestly. I never really felt like I should go into debt or be wasteful. Those were values that I inherited from my grandfather who emigrated from Italy. You know, they went through the Great Depression, so they always admonished me that, hey, times may be good now, but you better save for a rainy day, or don't use more paper towels than you have to because it's wasteful. So I guess in that respect, having grandparents from Italy and immigrants as parents maybe has changed my outlook a little bit more than the typical boomer.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, to ask the majority of people, this is also something true of just humanity in general, to ask the majority of people to be introspective, it's just not going to happen. But that's exactly the point, is people thought that way because the circumstances that enveloped them dictated it. And we basically need to understand that government is the ultimate form of human power on earth. The ultimate power is God. But the ultimate way to steer a society, which is the purpose of government, is to steer it. This idea, and let's be honest, this idea of like, let everyone do what they want to do because they know what's best for them, they don't. People don't understand what they need. That when people are left to their own devices, they will destroy themselves, as is evident with where we are today. They need to be led by leaders. Yep. Leadership, hierarchy, that's incumbent in nature. It's completely natural. People are designed to look up to leaders. They're designed to make their leaders proud, to be more like them. So if we could get good leaders and the leaders wield power, because at times the leader is going to, like a parent, they're going to have to spank their kid. They're going to have to punish them. But if the kid can get on the phone and call the cops and tell the cops that their parents are beating them, and then the cops come and take away the parent, then the parent has no real authority and the kid never develops at all. It's going to take punishment. It's going to take pain to get where we need to be. And you can't do that in a democratic government.
On that note, we're going to get into some of this stuff that I have pulled up here, that I've been having pulled up for an hour that we never got to. But anyway,
what are you? I see you laughing at the comments.
Dude? Hey, chat, y'all killing it today. Keep it up. On that same note, I mean, if the parents that didn't spank their kids because they didn't have the balls to spank their kids isn't going to be able to run a government to bring a country back if they don't have the balls to do what needs to be done, right? In the parenting case is to, apply a little pressure on the behind, right? In the government's case, maybe that's deport people or bring back capital punishment
or vote them out of office.
Millstone rope.
Vote them out of office, right?
We can get on the voting issue too, right? So if Trump doesn't fix the voting like he promised, then it doesn't matter anymore. I think you would agree with that.
Yeah.
And so if we don't fix the voting, you can't vote anyone out of office because they then just control everything from the voting registration on up.
I think I need to get a 23andMe. We need to.
Guys,
do
Josh
a 23andMe.
I mean, you've heard that expression,
Z Heil.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? So the question is anybody capable?
I don't think so.
Of
I don't agree with that
resisting the
statement.
temptation?
I don't agree with that statement.
Well, it's a statement, and it's something that a lot of people do agree with it. But
Well, I think power, money, things like this just amplify the person.
Yeah.
And the person that searches out power and money typically are generally corrupt by the time they get there. And so it may appear that power corrupts, but I think, speaking from personal experience, if I got the money and the power, I don't think I would be corrupted.
well, statistics would
But
show.
I'll never make it though. That's the problem. I won't. I won't be able to do what needs to be done to get there.
But average people who win the $1 million lotteries almost always implode
Sure,
because
they don't have it.
They don't know how to handle it.
I would file that
also-
under beware of unearned wisdom. Right,
Yeah.
beware of unearned money. Beware of unearned technology. Right, if you can't build a boat to get over here, and we're importing you over here to the greatest civilization in the history of the world, maybe you shouldn't be here.
Good point. Very good point.
Agreed.
And I mean, think someone like Napoleon. I think he earned it. George Washington earned his position, right? And they both are lived out to be however you view them to be. But
Yeah, and said grandfather, he earned it as well to provide for upward mobility for his kids and his grandkids. Mm-hmm. They didn't give it to him.
The Italians had boats.
Chaz bashing on us because I made our memberships cheap. That just means get the membership, dude. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I appreciate it. Who was that? Second Coins? Thank you, brother. Chad, y'all are killing it today. Donald Trump said you need to listen to Mark Levin. Josh does it better. Tell him to
Mark
listen to
Levin. Mark Levin.
Here
Listen
you
to
go.
Mark
Let me
Levin.
pull this up real quick. Josh, read it.
Okay, hold on. I can't see.
Can y'all see that, chat? Oh, wow.
Watch Mark Levin on Fox News right now.
We better be strong. We better be focused. We better be articulate. We can't waste our time on Epstein and other stuff that are going on here that some people want us to focus on. I've about had it with all that stuff.
See, that's a perfect example. Before October 7th, Mark Levin was an American of Jewish heritage. After October 7th, he became an Israeli. He became a cultural Jew who is living and making his living in America. Circumstances changed Mark Levin entirely.
I will say this, because I've told this to you before. When I worked at WBT, I had to monitor, because we didn't have automation. It had to be run, monitored manually. So I had to listen to Mark Levin for his entire show. He's just saying it a lot more often. But I mean, like even in 2022, he was like, the state of Israel is the greatest thing God put on earth, and I get what you're saying though. Yeah. You are right that like now it's just like so obvious that even like your average if you were just to show someone who didn't know who Mark Levin was and just say like, where do you think his true allegiances lie? He'd be like, clearly Israel.
Yeah, well, I think that kind of lends to the point we were talking about earlier, is where it's in there. It's in there. It just takes something to bring it out. In this case, it was
October
Israel's
7th.
own 9/11. Right,
Well,
worse than 9/11.
And what was it that brought it out with Ben Shapiro that got Ken all fired up?
Oh.
Ben Shapiro, something came out with him that wasn't 9/11. What was it?
Let's go. dude.
That got Ben Shapiro.
Oh, yeah. Ben Shapiro said that Epstein wasn't connected with Mossad or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
How that's what made Ken realize that Ben Shapiro might be a little two-faced. Is, well, clearly
This is
a
exactly it.
Jewish person has an interest, who's loyal to Israel, has an interest in Epstein Mossad connection not coming out.
Right.
So
He wasn't
Even if
wearing
he's-
his conservative radio hat anymore. He's wearing his yarmulke.
right. yeah, exactly. When is Ben ever not wearing that thing? Yeah.
I was talking to chat while y'all were having a conversation. I don't know what we're talking about. Second Coins. Yeah, we're gonna work on Patreon. I think we're gonna work on locals. I gotta figure out Rumble first before I get to locals. They work on the same platform, so we're doing that. Got a lot of stuff in the work. It just takes time, man. It just takes time that I don't really have. And Josh needs to quit his job. I'm trying to get him fired. Josh, throw me a Roman real quick so we can fire you. Don't do that.
It kind of seems like I'm trying to get me fired too.
But at the beginning of the show, we were talking about the coat that is coming out of the Trump administration. I say the Trump administration, this is their Twitter, basically, right? There's this one talking about Trump's Mexican tariffs are already having a positive impact, blah, blah, blah. And then there's this that I will probably go in depth on another stream, not today, but we kind of went over this Friday in some form, which was Agenda 47. Donald J. Trump campaigned on a list of 20 core promises to make America great again. And in just 6 months, he has unquestionably delivered, Josh.
Oh, unquestionably.
Promises made, promises kept. I actually posted a video if you want to go find that after this. I kind of clipped it to where it's more coherent, so I'm not talking to the chat the whole time. But I posted that video. It's like 26 minutes long. But as we go through every single one of them and kind of say, hey, you didn't actually keep this promise.
Well, to your point,
And we can go through. I would like to go through some of these with you, Joe.
I'm
And maybe
happy
that
to,
maybe
but-
that'll
but-
open
but
your
it's
eyes a
to your
little bit.
point, good liars can be very convincing to the uninformed. So maybe working hard has been redefined as the best liars.
Well, yeah, that's what he was saying.
No, I know. I
Yeah.
didn't disagree with what he was saying.
But
The
yeah,
best scam artists.
I think, I mean, this is, we want to vote a businessman into office, right? This is what this is. And I don't know, maybe we voted a con man into office instead of a businessman.
Well, I think inherent in business is kind of a pejorative connotation. A businessman will do what he will have to do to make the sale.
You know what?
This is why we'll never make it, boys.
You know
A
what?
sucker is born every day.
I'm not a salesman.
Yeah, I think you actually raise you made me think of something. I'm trying not to lose it here, but
Me or him?
basically, Joe. I mean, both of you. I mean, it has to do with the businessman aspect of things, but it's relevant because I thought and still do think that Trump got into this with good intentions. I think it less so, but I do think that that's the case. The question is it's what is this all about for Trump? Because I argued, and you heard me argue this on the radio, that he was a businessman. You know, he's a shady. You know, he massaged. You know, you inflate your asset. You know, you lie and stuff to make business deals. It happens. You make your house look better than it is before you sell
And
it.
Adam Schiff says he lives in Maryland.
Right. Exactly. You do these kinds of things. Everyone does that at the top. That's not what bothered me. What bothered me is like what I said is I think Trump did all that stuff. He lived a Caesarean life. He was at the top, literally lived in a golden tower. And I thought, he goes, I'm getting old and I've seen how bad things are. I want to hopefully leave the country in a better place than I found it. And I can only do that by running for president. The left was saying he's doing this to make money. He's doing this because he's got a big ego. And I always said, well, that doesn't make any sense because he's saying crazy stuff by those, you know, by 2015 standards, you know, stuff no one would say back then. His style, you know, like everyone's kind of turning against him. Whoopi Goldberg loved him up until he ran for president. It doesn't make any sense if that was the case. And I do defend that argument. I still to this day think that he got in with the best intentions. But the question is, what's it all about now?
Well, and I would reference the precedents. Is that any different than J.P. Morgan, Nelson Rockefeller? Not John D. Rockefeller, Cornelius Vanderbilt? A lot of those robber barons, I think they were trying to make peace with God or trying to leave a legacy that would untarnish their image. To me, he had conquered so many worlds. This was a chance to maybe leave his last impression, his best impression. And I think he tried to do that, but he underestimated the system in 2016. And I think maybe he thought he could conquer the system in 2024 more than he could.
Well, and I think that's the point, is I think that was the original intent, but he didn't deliver, and now it has become an ego thing. That's what I think.
Well, calling his detractors stupid is a total ego thing.
Time out. Well, I think the ego thing came in when Obama said he was reading the tweet about what did it say? At least I will become president, or at least I will be remembered as a president. This was like 2014 or something.
Yeah.
Which I think kind of prompted the Trump run, or at least encouraged it a lot.
I almost wonder.
It is arrogance on some scale.
If he ran for president just to get some attention, you know, just to kind of get his name in lights again, you know, to inflate his stock price, you know, whatever, and you just kind of get it out there. But then he started saying things people liked. He started being a little bit provocative, and then he was like, "I'll just see where it goes." It got to the debate stage, and he whooped everyone's ass, and it just kept going and going and going and going until he's like, "Oh shoot, I'm president of the United States," and
Complete accident.
yeah. I mean, and here's the thing: if you told me that in 2017, I'd be like, "Hell no, you're an idiot."
Do you think
It's starting to seem that way.
Do you think it's similar to his TV show The Apprentice? He wanted a little attention. He got his name in lights, and then it became a ratings hit. I mean, maybe this
good way
is
to put
just
it.
maybe this is just The Apprentice 2.0. I mean, it's a complicated situation, and I don't pretend to know how he ticks, but you know, I have seen other robber barons kind of go through the same kind of transformation. And again, it maybe wants to make peace with God, maybe wants to get to heaven, maybe wants to change his image. Who knows? But it's not unusual or unprecedented for people like that to, you know, want to clean things up. You know, kind of like, having a priest come when you're on your deathbed. You know, please forgive all my sins before I die.
You're Catholic, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you can just pay him.
Well, we you know, you
Come
guys,
on, man.
you guys pay 10% all along. We just pay a lot at the end.
Oh Lord.
That's a good way.
Pay me now or
Y'all
pay
don't
me
pay-
later.
y'all
If
don't
they
pay-
all get their cut.
Y'all don't tithe?
Say again?
Y'all don't tithe offering like 10%?
No, it's more
know that.
free willed. It's more you put what you can in an envelope. It's up to the individual. But yeah, they don't target it at 10%.
Okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was not.
But like I say,
Catholic
at
thing.
the end they get you good.
What's it called? Penance?
Yeah,
Is that what it's
exactly.
called?
Last rites.
I will say, if I believed in purgatory, I'd probably have a little bit more of a laissez-faire attitude. You know.
Yeah, I don't know that I understand purgatory. I think purgatory is that gray area that they use when they can't decide on heaven or hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, Imperfect Citizen made this point too, which I was kind of thinking about. That there was a commercial when Oprah interviewed Trump back, and he says something in 1988. It sounds about right. It's pretty bad quality. So, yeah, I mean, Oprah asked Trump if he would run. He said, only if I thought I needed to or the country needed it, and there was nobody else better to run it. Which, I mean, I guess could be argued was the case.
And back then they thought he would run it as a Democrat, right?
He was a Democrat.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
he was a Democrat, yes. He didn't leave the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party left him, though. So now we have Trump, Elon, Tulsi, all these previous Democrats that are in the Republican Party running the country.
And
That's how you define a uniparty, dude.
Epstein ran in the Democrat circles, which Trump was a part of at that time.
Yes, he was.
And Clinton too, right?
Yeah. Well, they actually speaking of Clinton, this is this the right one? Yes. Newly declassified DOJ watchdog report shows FBI cut corners in Clinton email investigation. Wow, shocker. DOJ's OIG's investigation, Clinton's annex shows the FBI obtained thumb drives from a source during the Clinton investigation, but then FBI Director James Comey, as well as then Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe, former FBI Special Agent Peter Strzok, and others failed to perform additional targeted searches of the drives, even though they contained information relevant to the inquiry. Whoa. Oh, no. They lied to save their own asses. It's like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
Is anybody going to go to jail?
And what now?
Any
what
prison
now?
sentences?
No one's going to jail for anything. But why? It made me wonder, why didn't the Trump people blame the Epstein file disappearance on the previous administration?
Well, he kind of did. He said it was created. He essentially said it was virtually the same as the Steele dossier.
Oh.
It was just fabricated.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
My bad.
But
Yeah.
lock her up. Did we lock her up? I mean, that was 2015. 10 years. Is she locked up yet, Josh?
Nope. Hey, we gotta.
Well,
So-
we're not locking up Fauci either.
We're not
are we?
locking up anybody. We're locking. I tell you who we're locking up: the violent illegals before we let them back into the country.
Or the Catholic protesters at the abortion centers. We're locking them up.
Oh yeah. Public enemy number one.
Or anybody that opposes Israel on a college campus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rounding them up on the street.
We're locking people up,
That's right.
just not the right ones. Anyway, this is when I was talking about Cope earlier on stream. This is what I'm talking about. The release. I mean, what are the chances? What are the odds that Tulsi Gabbard just comes out randomly at the perfect time to kind of flood the news with, I don't even remember what Tulsi Gabbard was saying last week. What did she say?
She came out with some information about how the Obamas tried to sabotage Trump's campaign and covered up
whatever
things.
See, not even important. And so they try to cover that up, use that to cover up the Epstein files. Now we have DOJ coming out saying, I don't know, something about Clinton email investigation, which we all knew that they didn't actually go through with.
So is it?
And it's just cope to cover up what's actually going on. They're trying to flood the news market. I mean, how long have they been sitting on this? Right? 6 months at least. It's not like we didn't know it wasn't there.
Smoke and mirrors.
Exactly.
And then you have this kind of stuff flooding the feed again, trying to get Epstein out of the news. Dude, I haven't seen anything about Epstein today. It's gonna get buried for, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks. It's going to get brought back up, get buried again, brought back up, buried again.
And from a like institutional media standpoint, you know, I've said before, we're a Fox News affiliate. They didn't talk about it at all. And finally, today was the first day they had one of their reporters offer a story out. And it wasn't even one of their reporters, it was one of these special guests. And you know, it's like I don't want to get in trouble here, but it's some woman who like runs a podcast. And it was, of course, basically towing the Trump line. No big deal.
But isn't it so hypocritical that all during the Biden administration, Fox News accused CNN and MSNBC of not reporting the things that they were reporting?
Exactly.
They're just, you know, birds of a feather.
All right. We're just going to run through this real quick. I don't want to spend too much time on any one specifically, and then once we get to the end of it, we can kind of discuss a little bit. But like I said, Friday we went through a lot of these. I'm assuming they're virtually the same 20. Seal the border, stop the migrant invasion. We will close the border. We will stop the invasion of illegals into our country. Promises made, promises kept. Under the Trump administration, let me see if I can click over here. Hold on. I can read that better. I can't read. Can you read? That's hard. That screen's hard to read.
I can read it for you.
Yeah, Josh, you read
I can read better than I can
which one?
hear.
Like
Josh has got it.
The Trump
yeah,
tweet?
just read promises made, promises kept.
Under President
At least
Trump,
what's
the number
relevant.
of illegal immigrants crossing the southern border are at historic lows, and border wall construction has resumed. Last month, illegal border crossings were the lowest ever recorded, while the fiscal year is on track to see the fewest illegal crossings in 5 decades.
Sorry.
For 2 straight months, 0 illegals were released into the country's interior. I'll give him credit for that too. But and he said, okay, border construction. And here's the thing: the wall.
What does that
As
mean?
it
For
already
2 straight months,
exists
0
isn't
illegals
good.
were released into the country's interior. Does that not include border crossings? Does that just mean they bust them to non-border countries? I think that's what that means.
I hope not.
Why do we take words and twist them to the point of lying? This is the problem. All right, number 2, carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. We will begin the largest deportation operation in the history of the country. Every single day, the Trump administration is removing illegal immigrant killers, rapists, gangbangers, drug dealers, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, you know, he exaggerates in typical salesmanship. He exaggerates the number, but they are being exported. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, but
you
you can't. But the problem is you can't claim largest deportation operation in American history, and then say every single day we're removing illegal immigrant killer, rapist, blah blah blah. It's like, okay, if you remove 2, that statement is true, but you still didn't make number 2 check, right? I mean, to make number 2 check, we would have to deport something like. To make it factually true, like close to 200,000 a month, which we're not doing. Not even close. And there's plenty out there, I promise you. 3, end inflation and make America affordable again. Start the day I take the oath of office, I would rapidly drive prices down and we will make America affordable again.
It's not all the way down. but it's better than it was, right?
Well, the problem
Yeah.
with in an inflation is it's already been inflated. You have to deflate to make things more affordable again. Everything's already expensive. You have to deflate the thing to make it more affordable. Does that make sense?
But doesn't that require the Fed to cooperate?
We could end the Fed. We have control of the Congress. We could end the Fed if we wanted to, but we're not going to. The Fed answers to Congress, not to the president.
Not until they finish their $500 million renovation, right? Right, Josh?
Is that
Yeah,
what they got?
exactly.
Well, I mean, Jerome
That-
Powell has supposedly Jerome Powell's been called to the White House or wherever, the court system, because he perjured himself. Which, I mean, nothing will come of that either. Is the problem? I mean, it's just a continuous thing. 4, make America the most dominant energy producer in the world by far. We will stop the Biden-Harris war on American energy. American energy is such a big deal. Yeah, I think these are all the same thing. They're trying to provide proof.
Well, I'll
but
tell you the
it
one
doesn't
that
float.
irks me the most. Remember, he said, "I'll stop the war in Ukraine on day one." That's the one that I think was so lofty. you
Yeah,
know,
no new wars. Let's fund Ukraine some more. Well, we're not really funding them. We're just buying our own weapons to give to them. Oh, also, we're going to bomb Iran.
Well, and the thing is he's clearly like that's a perfect example. He's clearly made some huge mistakes, but if he were showing signs of improvement, you know, like I've talked about that, we can't like, is he on the right track? Is he going to be like a hardcore pro-Christian dictatorship in his life? No, maybe at the very end, but he's at least making and he's open-minded enough to like kind of wake up to certain things. Israel goes behind Donald Trump's back and starts a war with the expectation we're going to back them, and to save face, Donald Trump pretends it was his idea because he doesn't want people to think that they went behind his back. Why not just say, "Holy shit, they went behind my back." And like something like, you know, they don't know what the fuck they're doing, you know.
Yeah.
It's not enough. It's not enough.
Well, did they even know about the attack on Syria? That seemed to come out of the blue, right? There was no warning about that, was there?
not that
No,
I'm
which
aware
they
of.
should have had a treaty. We had a treaty with Syria. They weren't going to get bombed, but Israel does it anyway. Ninja makes a good point. I mean, if we're going to start wars, let's start a war in our own country and get all these immigrants out of here.
Yeah.
Right? The war. We've had a war on drugs that's failed because, well, the CIA was funding the drug trade. But anyway, we've had a war on drugs that's failed.
A
We
war
can
on
fix
poverty that's
A
failed.
war on poverty that's failed because all the money that goes to poverty gets funneled up through the people that are there instead of actually to the poverty, and then through welfare. Anyway, all of this is very, very complicated stuff. As long as you have immigrants into the country, right? If we remove all the baggage inside of the country, a lot of this becomes more simple. But he said no new wars. Well, I'll compromise. I'll compromise a war on immigrants. I will do that. Let's do that. You satisfied with that? Mm-hmm. War on immigration? Okay. As long as we're fighting it inside of the country. But anyway.
Read my lips. No new taxes.
No taxes. American Dominant Energy. Well, this is a problem. I mean, we're subsidizing solar. And Elon's probably been heading most of that up. But the world doesn't run on solar. Stop outsourcing and turn the United States into a manufacturing superpower. Let's see what they say for this one. Bring back manufacturing.
Listen, this stuff is fine, but I want to see if we're going to add sugar back to Coke, and the Commanders are going to be the Redskins. That's what I'm really worried about.
Those are the main issues.
Those are the main issues. There we go. Mexican Coke.
I mean, see,
My son makes me buy it.
This is the problem. It's like, is sugar back in Coke that big a deal? It's not like you can't get it. I mean, I drove like half a mile to the store.
Yeah.
And I got it.
At Walmart, right? Well,
It's
they have
not.
it at-
Yeah, it's not. Well, it was at Food Line. It's like it's not impossible to get.
It's a lot more expensive though.
Well, it's in a glass bottle too. How about that? Let's do that. Everything from now on gets put in a glass bottle. We're just going back to the 1950s.
Heck
Yeah.
yeah.
MAGA.
Recycle.
Oh, let's see. Google engagement behind solar. There's a lot of people behind solar. There's a lot of people behind solar because it leads to slave mining in Africa, but that's a different conversation too. Outsourcing. As President Trump pursues his bold commitment to an American first trade agenda, sources of companies have announced trillions of dollars in new investment as they onshore workers from foreign countries.
You know what I think a lot of this stuff is? I think in reality, life is 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And I think that a good example of that is the tariffs. He went out there with all these bold promises. He's negotiating. He's working the media. He's working the American public. And he knows in the end it's going to be negotiated and it's not going to be a straight line. It's going to be win some, lose some. But like I always like to say, you know, an all-star hitter makes an out 60% of the time, 65% of the time. An NBA champion misses, 60% of his three-point shots. Why do we expect anyone in politics to bat 1,000?
I'm just hoping he'll bat one.
I'm not really looking for 1,000. Dude, I'm looking for like
10.
Yeah. Even if we just got like a very, very partial 10, 15% of what we were promised, I think, I don't know. I mean, he literally promised the world and we're not getting anything. We're actually getting new investment as they onshore workers from foreign countries. I mean, he admits in this promise kept that we're importing more people. Is this a win? I think not.
But you see, it's kind of interesting. When I was in business, okay, in corporate New York businesses, there was a joke that kind of talks about the lies.
Yeah, you were in the corporate side of things.
I was in the corporate side, but there was a joke that everyone would talk about. It's in typing, before they had computers. Where's that letter you promised me? It's in typing. That was the lie you used to say why I don't have it. Or it's in the mail, right? Snail mail. That's why you don't have it. It's in the mail, trying to defer something else. So it's kind of like when you're in business, everyone's used to a kind of altered state of reality. There's like a 20% bullshit factor in everything that's said. But because you're in business, you're all speaking the same language. I think maybe it's kind of hard for the average person to kind of filter that language or to know the dialects or the idiomatic language that these guys are speaking.
I would even say the absolute language, right? So we read right here: large tax cut for workers and no tax on tips. Seems pretty straightforward. We're gonna have very large tax cuts for workers and no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. The problem is there's a limit on how much tips you can have before it's taxed. So that seems like they're still taxing tips to me, Josh. But that would have been fairly easy to push into the big, beautiful bill.
But there were 535 smart guys. There were 535 smart guys who had their hands and fingerprints all over that bill. You know how long it took to get through the House, the Senate, back to the House?
We have control of the House. The Republicans have. Why should we have any at all capitulations to the Democrat Party inside of a bill? When we control the House, we control the Senate, we control the presidency.
But they're individuals. They're individual people in the House.
This is a problem.
Yes.
And this is a problem.
So your problem is basically with the structure of the 3 levels of government, the 3 branches of government.
I mean, I have my
That's part of
problems
it.
with that, but also the people within the system is the issue, right? I could probably get by with the structure of the government if we didn't have immigrants voting, if we didn't have the voting system that we do that actually tallied votes correctly on top of ballot stuffing. Mm-hmm. The problem is there's problems at every level, and you have to knock down one at a time, and you can't, especially when you actually have the power, and they won't do anything without making compromises when they're not necessary. Ninja said Zeb and Josh want AI Congress. I mean, the boomers would probably want AI Congress is the problem. I mean, a lot of these guys, maybe not you, but a lot of these guys, they talk about AI as if it's God. Hey, I put into Gronk this question and he gave me this answer. He's right. Like it's an instant AI is correct on everything. I don't know if you've seen that yet, but it's very telling.
You know what's interesting to me, though?
Everything on the internet
The
is true
same
also.
way there are three branches of government, I see individuals as having like three branches. You have the intellectual aspect, the spiritual aspect, and the emotional aspect. And, you know, the AI might help your intellectual aspect, but it doesn't filter through your spiritual beliefs or your emotional feelings. It's funny. I was thinking of something today. Some Jewish person was talking about something, and I thought to myself,
Shocker.
you know how take everything with a grain of salt? When a Jewish person tells me something, I take everything with a grain of kosher salt, which is larger. And so I'm a lot more hesitant. In other words, if you're not filtering your words and your thoughts through a Christian, value system, it doesn't really connect with me very well. So your brain could say good things if you're a Muslim. Your brain could say good thing if you're a Buddhist. But unless you have the kind of Christian spirit, it's just one-dimensional. It's not the three branches of humanity, so to speak.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Oh.
Basically,
That's what I was
to
talking
dumb
about.
it down, because you say very professorial, don't trust the Jews.
Well, like I said, anyone who's not coming from an area of Christianity, I don't think could ever fully explain the entire point to me. There's something missing if you don't have Christian values in the thought or word or deed that you're doing.
Absolutely.
And
I agree with that.
And that's why, a lot of people think our success was founded as a Christian country.
That's why, and you don't even necessarily need to hone in on Jews. I mean, though it's a good point, is because they definitely pass better for white people than Vivek Ramaswamy would. But when they say our values, our American values, they mean it in this very amalgamy way. You know what I mean? 'Cause it's basically like appealing to to a word we all like when you're really appealing to nothing. You know.
Well, and to what end is it serving? Are you saying something to benefit yourself or benefit your organization? You were talking about the boomers, right? Now, I don't think much of parents who spend all the money on themselves and then deprive their children of anything. That's not leadership, okay? And so I don't think much of people who are feathering their own nest at the expense of what is right. And of course, I'm describing what is right with a heavily influence of Christianity. And I certainly understand that a Buddhist or a Hindu might not view my idea of right and wrong exactly the same, which is why I think we'd be better off if, we were all
They weren't here.
We're dealing with a Christian dictator.
You're getting there, Joe.
I'm coming around, just like Kevin's coming around. I'm coming around.
Chat's killing it. Thank you guys. Let's dive back into this, see if we can get another conversation going. I like this conversation that we're having. We're talking about tax cuts and tips. Next, number 7. Where we at? Defend our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and our fundamental freedoms, including freedom of speech. Yeah, these are exactly the ones we went over Friday.
Yeah. They've just
got-
put them on like videos with them now.
Yep. And we got Joe with us, so we can kind of attack him.
But even the Supreme Court, right? Trump put his people on the Supreme Court. They haven't supported him lockstep. Even the people that he appointed did not feel the loyalty to just vote his way on every issue. They're speaking their own minds and using their own values and experience to rule.
Well, I think, and that's just a case of so why is that? What's the root cause of that? Well, it's essentially Trump. He didn't make a genuine effort to he basically ran on draining the swamp and then hired the swamp to help drain the swamp. You know what I mean? So he didn't know who Amy Coney Barrett was beforehand. He probably didn't know who Brett Kavanaugh was beforehand. And he picked those people almost certainly based on recommendation. And then what happens? The left attacks them, and then it's circle the wagon. We got to circle around against Brett for who? Brett Kavanaugh, some creature from Harvard. Why? Who cares? And then Amy Coney Barrett. I shed a tear when George Floyd died.
It's not reciprocated.
Yeah. Of course, I wasn't surprised when they didn't do anything. When Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh are some of the biggest, what we would call traitors, but they're really not because they were never on our side to begin with.
And then you have a bunch of district courts that want to stop the Supreme Court. And this is the problem, right? And the Supreme Court doesn't want to do anything about it, right? You have appointed judges throughout the country that can stop national level.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's
well,
do
that
something
comes
about
back.
it.
So there's a lot of flaws in the structure, is right? The judicial branch has an awful lot.
Remove the activist judges.
Yep.
Trump has the power to do that, but he doesn't. Why?
One thing in my book, I said, I think the federal judges across the country should report to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court should actually have the responsibility of appointing the judges, not presidents. Because, with all the Biden appointed judges that were trying to, slow down what Trump was trying to do, their loyalty was to the Democratic appointee and not, let's say, the organization. It's kind of like, if I can't piss off my boss entirely if I want to keep a job.
Right.
So if I'm politically motivated in a decision and I've got to answer to Justice Roberts, I might lose my job. So I'm going to have to justify why I ruled in that favor.
Right.
And it's another judge who's evaluating the thoughts of that, not some political executive.
At least that's an idea. I don't know enough about the judicial system, to be honest, to have a point. But I think that's the kind of stuff we would talk about on my show. Is let's just, instead of I'm starting with a criticism of the system and that's all people hear. Why don't we just come up with if you had to, if God made you come up with just something slightly different, what would it be? And at least that's something, you know what I mean?
That's right. And what it says is we can't throw out the whole three branches of government, but we can make modifications to the judicial one.
Yeah.
Maybe term limits is a modification to the legislative branch. Mm-hmm. And so I know that would take a tremendous act of Congress, so to speak, to get that done, but no one's even thinking about where the root causes of the logjam is, or the problem is, or the politicalization, or the weaponization, or all the terms that were bandied about.
Agreed.
I was letting y'all go, man. Y'all were killing it. Side note, how we have call-ins on Thursdays?
Yeah.
I think we should have member or audience submitted videos for review. So if y'all come across something on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, something upwards of 3 to 5 minutes long. We have a group chat on Twitter. If you would like to go on that, let me know. And also you can just send links in YouTube. So we're going to do that on Wednesday afternoons, probably towards the second hour.
Good idea.
I think that would be interesting.
I'd like
Get some instant react, because I don't get to react to things blindly like you do.
Yeah, that's true. I actually was thinking about that, how I need to do some stuff to prepared stuff for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think we need to do something like that. Just
it'd be a lot simpler if I
think it
didn't
would
work
be
8
funner,
hours.
more funner.
Well, maybe I'll send in a video from New Hampshire.
Let's do it, dude.
Please do.
Yep, Joe's leaving us. He's going to New Hampshire. Prevent World War III.
Live free or die.
Did we prevent World War III? I mean, how do you gauge that? I know we provoked Iran. Did we prevent World War III, Josh?
Nope.
And build a great Iron Dome missile system.
We
defense.
almost started it and then quickly threw water on it. So in that way, yeah.
We haven't gotten any kind of Iron Dome, so I guess maybe that's filed under the funding of the border with the Big Beautiful Bill.
Yeah, but listen, the most important thing is Israel has its dome.
Yeah, for sure. They need more missiles. Send them missiles. That
They
they're
need
gonna,
more
that they're going to bomb
missiles.
Syria
They need
with.
more missiles.
That they're going to bomb Syria with, and shoot at churches. Anyway, the end of the weaponization of government against the American people. Biden has worked to persecute political dissidents. How about we don't? How about we don't end that? Suggestion: weaponize the government against our enemies. Just kind of tossing that out there.
I'm okay. Like the kind of persecution you're seeing of the Christians. I'm okay with that for Jews and Muslims in America.
Well, I'm talking about locking the people up that he said was going to lock up.
I'm not.
That's
I'm for that for non-patriots. If you don't
Like
swear allegiance,
Jews and Muslims?
if you don't swear allegiance to America first, if American interests are not your priority, then yeah,
So like, Comey,
hit the road, Jack.
McCabe,
How would-
Clinton, Obama, Fauci, Burks, all these people should be in prison.
You know, like I was telling Josh one time.
But I think it's a bad look.
You know, my grandfather, when we were in World War II, my grandfather didn't side with Mussolini because he was from Italy. He was American. So he sided with America. And I think if you don't show your patriotism, if you don't show your loyalty, you know, you're kind of on your own.
Excuse me.
I get that.
Where we at? Next.
Yeah, I mean, go someplace else. There are plenty of other good places to go if you don't share, you know, our values and our views.
Yeah, do they give you free stuff?
This is
though?
what
That's
I
the
think,
question.
though. I don't think that people from crappy countries should go to better countries. I mean, like, why would the better countries want them there?
Well, I've never liked the argument.
I think
that
the better countries should go to the crappy countries, take over, and make them better. That's what I think.
colonization.
That's a
Yes.
that's a nice strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It worked for the
okay,
British.
We left them alone. Okay, for freedom and harmony, all that, and they're killing each other. And then it creates a crisis. And then they come here. They come here to escape themselves. We need to go in there, behead the cartels. You know, give them a taste of their own medicine. And ironically, though, I think the cartels are a big part of the reason they're as in check as they are. But I don't know enough about it, to be honest. That's just speculation.
Josh wants me to. Nick Fuentes gets kicked out of America Forefront. Pull it up on YouTube. Yeah, we're gonna.
I hadn't
I
heard
want
about
to do
this.
this, but we gotta file it on like Wednesday. Maybe
Yeah.
tomorrow. Josh, you aren't gonna be here tomorrow.
Nah, I got a thing.
We'll see. We'll play with it. Maybe tomorrow. Gets kicked out of American Forefront. I don't know what that is.
I've not heard of that.
Where we at? Stop
I
migrant crime.
do have some
epidemic.
content to
For us?
react to
Okay.
now I think about it. It's not gonna be like Twitter-y stuff though. It's like TikTok.
Instagram,
Yeah,
TikTok.
yeah.
That's fine.
But
I don't even get on there.
But it's good. You're gonna like it. You guys really need to brush up on your
Trump
Orwellian.
bobbers.
Oh, it's Trump. Why? Okay. Miss you, Trump whoppers.
Not enough. To answer the question, not enough. I mean, have they had some? Sure. Dude, 6 months is a long time, especially when you already know where they are. Frank, with the super chat, let's go. Annoying, I have to use this account to send it, but sending a super cause you gents deserve it. I appreciate it, dude. What's your other account? And why can't you send
Frank the
it
Tank.
that way? I don't know. Appreciate it though. Let's see where we at. Stop migrant crime epidemic. Well, the only way to do that is deportations. Demolish the foreign drug cartels. Okay. The problem is we have the data on all these guys. Okay, stacking coins. We have the data on all these guys. It's not like they're hiding. It's not like the CIA doesn't know. We've been operating sting operations. We've been infiltrating them for decades at this point. It's like, just go get them.
If you've got a Mexico,
They're not
if you
hiding.
go to Mexico and their pool isn't cloudy, it's the cartel. Not hard to figure out.
Dude, I would be fine with like carpet bombing the entire border to flatten it and get rid of any tunnels underneath it. That just popped in my head. Carpet bombs and napalm. Let's go, boys. Joe, you oppose that one?
I don't. As a matter of fact, I mean, I really would like some sort of armed forces to hunt down the cartels in Mexico.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, yeah.
Stop, we're firing at our own men.
Yeah.
No, I think, yeah.
Oh,
Sorry. Got something in there.
that one had some flavor to it.
Dusky, welcome to the stream. I know you posed a little bit, but welcome. Thanks for the conversation. Oh, excuse me. Anyway, we've been losing the drug war for a very, very long time. We are going to continue losing as long as the CIA is pushing the drugs. How do they fund everything they do? Well, it's not tax money. It's mostly tax money, though. Rebuild our cities. That's going to be hard to do when they're full of minorities. Including Washington, D.C., make them safe, clean, and beautiful again. We will rebuild our once great cities, including capital D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful again. Why did they say it's promises kept? I mean, I haven't been to D.C.,
Yeah,
but I'm just going to
No.
no.
Yeah.
No?
I guarantee you that's not true.
Joe, you heading up that way, aren't you? You've been through it twice.
Through D.C.?
Yeah?
Oh, can't avoid it. I got to drive through there. Yeah.
How's it look compared to like 6 months ago?
From I-95, it looks the same. I'm more concerned with dealing with the traffic on the Beltway than anything because that could make my trip miserable.
Well, deportations will help with that.
Well, yeah. I tell you the truth. I think I'm more worried about New York. You know,
You talking about Mom Donnie?
yeah. I mean that is a very scary proposition that, you know, the financial capital of the world might elect a socialist as mayor.
Yeah, we talked about that a good bit. Well, and in fact, Minneapolis, the Minnesota. What just happened? Oh, is it only on current? Hold on, let me see if I can fix this. Current application. Safari. All right, let's do that. Sorry about that, chat. Well, Minneapolis just elected. What's the stupid name? Omar, the Somali.
Somalian. Yeah, he's like what, like 25 years old or something?
Yeah,
He's very young.
Yeah, but he's Somalian. I mean, and he's going to win Minneapolis. And it's not like Americans are voting him in.
Well, and you know what he talks about? When he was campaigning, he was talking about back home. He mentioned back home all the time. I'm like, you know.
And we talked about him before. It's like it's going to push people. I know we've kind of had this conversation with you on what is an American, right? Me and Josh don't really believe that people can assimilate. And so when you have someone like him that was born in America, raised in America, but doesn't see America as his home, is he American? The answer is obviously no.
Yeah.
But the problem is it's going to put people in a corner that have kind of espoused this Charlie Kirk-esque, oh, if you're born and raised in America, you're American.
No.
It's going to box people in a corner to a point where, hey, we're going to have to define America. This is what is an American is going to be the forefront question moving forward, no matter what.
And I agree.
And it'll define every other political position.
But it has nothing to do with skin color,
I disagree
or
with you.
gender, or anything like that. I think it has to do with your commitment to the American way of life. Do you have the American spirit or not? I mean, Byron
disagree with
Donalds
you.
is African American, but he has an
Well,
incredibly
he would be what we would call FBA, Foundational Black American, but he is not American in the American sense, right? You have to, even you yourself said African American, right? It has to come with a prefix.
But he
when
has-
when I call myself American, I don't say white American,
Southern
European American, Southern American. I'm an American, and this is what we're going to have to define American as.
right. But and what I'm saying is he is as patriotic and has the American spirit as well as much as any American citizen would like.
And
My grandfather assimilated over 3 generations so that I feel 100% American. But that took work.
well, but here's the thing you have to understand is it took 3 generations for you to feel like a full-blooded American. You're Italian, you're American, but you don't go around calling yourself an Italian American. You're just an American. And I would say that you are. But the thing is you have to, like, what the founding of this civilization of America was WASPs. It is easier for an Italian person to blend in and to assimilate with a Waspian culture than an African culture. In the same way, it is hard for someone from an African culture to assimilate into this one. And the point is you bring up Byron Donald. This is a point Zeb and I brought up before. Of course, you can get someone from Africa. You can get someone from the heart of the jungle that is doing everything they can to assimilate to the American way. They can try to speak English, shed their accent, whatever. The vast majority of them aren't. And trying to preserve this idea for the sake of the few good ones isn't worth it at this point. And a perfect example, the Minneapolis mayor guy, he was born here and he doesn't consider it home. Why? Because he was surrounded. All the people he grew up next to, all this, they were from Somalia. They don't consider themselves American.
Well, they don't possess the American spirit for the American way of life.
Okay, but the point is they're choosing not to.
Right.
Okay, what if 1 billion Indians...
And they don't have to because they come in here en masse.
But think about
What if
it.
1 billion Indians had that... What if we brought in 1 billion Vivek Ramaswamis? Would they all be American?
No, you'd have to believe in what it is to be American.
But Vivek Ramaswamy does believe in what it... Or at least he pronounces that he believes in what it believes to be American as you'd want to define it, as in values.
Right. But again, I think he's...
And if we define it as that, then everyone that holds that value is American and can be an American.
Okay, but...
So there's no defining
But
feature.
look at me. I'm only white. I'm not Anglo-Saxon, and I'm not Protestant. So I'm only 25% of the WASP, and I consider myself American. But you want to hear an honest admission? I think if you've been here for 8 generations instead of 3, you're probably a little bit more American than me. It's a matter of degree. I'm American enough, but I don't claim to be as American as the people who came over on the Mayflower and kind of did more to make America what it is. Going forward, I want to continue to, earn my position, but I also understand that there may be people who are more American than me. Maybe you.
Well, it's kind of a denial of nature at this point. It's like if you were to like put me, like if you could upload my consciousness into a handicapped body and it has all my thoughts, all my memories and whatnot, but now I'm in a handicapped body, would it still be me? Like, yeah, like a little bit of the essence is maintained, but being in a paralyzed body would affect the way I think. It would affect the way I behave. It would affect my mood. It would affect all aspects. And the point being is it's like this. When you go into an all-black neighborhood, by choice or otherwise, you may not think like a negative thought, but you do notice. you do kind of feel like the odd man out. And that's how African Americans feel. That's how everyone feels. That's why these people, the point being is when you are around the other, it is human nature to recognize them as the other. When you get hundreds and thousands of Somalians coming here and they all just speak Somali and they all just move to the same place, that's not like some guy, that's not your grandfather who came over here and maybe he wanted to start an Italian restaurant. Okay, what's the big deal?
Well,
that is them setting up a colony in our nation.
Well, and I'll give you an example. The mafia. I'm Italian, and the Italian mafia were people who I don't think embraced the spirit of America. Okay, they took advantage of American resources with a criminal element. A lot of people tease me, hey, you got any mafia connections?
They refused to assimilate until they did.
Well, that's right. And the point is, no matter who comes over, you're never going to get 100% of the people who buy in. And so I wish there were some kind of litmus test for patriotism. You had to prove.
So here's my point. Our point, I guess, and I don't mean to cut you off, but it's like, why put in the effort when we can just not let them in? Why? So if people are just people, why bring in Somalians at all? That, like, if the only difference is that they haven't assimilated yet, why bring in people at all? Why bring in the unassimilated?
I'll tell you why. Because our capitalistic system relies on an infiltration of the lower classes. As people move up the upward mobility, you need the workers at the bottom.
So why not incentivize people from other nations that will have an easier time assimilating, like white people, like people that already speak English? Why are we bringing them in from Africa and
because
Southern America?
The people from Scandinavia, they think it would be a step down to come to America. You don't have any Swiss immigrants because they like their country better. So where are you going to get those white people?
We're going to start
South
with
Africa. Yeah, South Africa.
Well, because of the recent situation, there may be a need to exile those people, just like the potato famine caused the Irish to come, right? So yes, so the South African situation could, be a reason for the South African whites to come. Sure, but again, it's somewhat circumstantial. If things were going well, if Mandela never turned the government upside down in South Africa, those whites weren't interested in coming here.
Of course.
Because they had control of the country. It's only because their position has changed that they're maybe receptive to emigrating.
And I guess that's some of the arguments I've gotten with Ken before. Is it's like if our, like you say, our capitalist system requires a certain level of workers and whatnot. I'm willing for us to take a hit to preserve our nation, an economic hit, maybe even a hit on the world stage. Maybe China does surpass us for a time. I mean, I have faith in us that eventually we'd get back on top, but we're not going to beat China, and we're not going to get back on top if we're importing the third world constantly, and the third world resents us for it as soon as they get here.
But I will tell you this, and again, maybe this shows bad qualities about me, but I don't want my daughter, after 3 generations of hard work, I don't want my daughter picking strawberries. I don't care how much they're paying. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I think I've earned the right to send her to college and have her participate in the American dream. So I want someone else to pick the strawberries. Now, I think they should be legal immigrants. They should be willing to come.
Would you not want your son to sucker tobacco?
I picked tobacco in Connecticut, shade tobacco.
Okay, so I don't see where the issue is.
If your son could make a decent living and live in the suburbs and was working in a tobacco field or picking strawberries, and he was okay with doing that,
just like the first 2 or 3 years of his life.
If that was his free choice, if my grandfather didn't have a choice, he couldn't work anywhere except in a sweatshop because he didn't speak English. If my son wanted to work in the fields and it was a free choice, I got no problem with that.
But now he doesn't have a choice.
Well, he does have a choice because through my efforts, through my father's efforts and my grandfather's efforts, we're getting him an education that should allow him to have a better
No,
choice.
that option to have a living and work in the fields does not exist because of immigration.
Yes. The farmers make more money by paying less. They are advocating for illegal immigration because they can get away with paying illegals a non-living wage, and the illegals get government benefits to subsidize, so the farmers get more money. That's the problem.
But so does Silicon Valley by hiring the H-2B visa guys, right?
Sure, exactly.
Yeah.
Let's do away with that too. I mean,
Yeah, get rid of it. I don't want them here either.
Exactly. But so how much of it is capitalism? How much it is human nature? How much is it the need for a multi-level marketing scheme to have downline contributors?
If it were a bunch of Swiss people and Germans coming over here to pick in the field and they weren't assimilating, I'd be against that too. But we also can't deny, like, there's the economic constraints, and then there's the reality restraints of race, which I don't think we're on the same page about that. But the fact of the matter is there is the difference between me and Albert Einstein, IQ-wise, is not because he studied harder than me. He's a smart person by nature. And the fact of the matter is you know, if you go, I'm not saying there's no smart black people. Of course there is. But they're fewer and farther in between to find. You know what I mean? You're
the
more like
smartest ones are the ones that are eating the cats and the dogs, Josh.
But see, my grandfather came to America because the legal immigration system said we need people to work. His cousin had to go to Argentina because the quota was filled. So if we had a really good immigration system, we could control the kind of qualifications that we allowed in, and we could kind of steer them toward the places where they were needed. The problem is it's kind of a free-for-all. Anyone just kind of breaks through and comes on in.
And I'd be okay temporarily, even maybe Zeb, you don't agree with this, but like a temporary thing where it's like they don't get any subsidies. If you come in here, and it's quite literally like every white person in America is working and doing a job, and it literally just comes down to we don't have enough strawberry pickers. Then we can bring in a couple, but they get like a 5-year term, and it's basically like what slavery looked like back then, where it's like their living wages are paid for by the expense of the farmer, where the farmer has to provide like living facilities, and they're basically kept separate, like they live on the farm. You know what I mean? I'd be okay with something like that.
So what you're saying is we need a system structure that can control that.
Yes, it can't just be come on down, pick some strawberries, and go to public school and
hey guys,
never learn English.
I've thoroughly enjoyed being the punching bag on the panel.
Didn't intend it to be that way.
But it's 5 o'clock and I've got to go. How much longer are you guys going?
I got to get going too, to be honest. I'll go like
I've got
10,
someone waiting at my
15 more
house,
minutes.
and so.
But we enjoyed it.
I listen. My masochistic tendencies have been completely fulfilled. my ego has been knocked way down. I'm questioning everything I've stood for or believed in. So thanks, guys.
That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for.
I loved it, man. Thank you so much, guys.
No, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, man. And like I said, expect me to keep in touch from New Hampshire.
Yeah,
Yes, sir. We'll get with you.
Give me a call when you're settled in.
You got
Let me
it.
know how it is.
Well, we know you're going to come up and visit, right?
Ideally.
Zeb, you're welcome to come up and see the leaves change.
Yes, sir. We'll make it up. But I got to check out D.C. when Trump makes it metropolis.
Yeah.
Well,
when
and
it's
also,
a
you got
city of
couple
gold.
youngins that need to see the pretty white
Yes.
mountains.
I like it.
Thank you
I
for
know
coming
you
on.
Go to see the Black Mountains.
That's right. Yeah, we're racist. See you, Joe.
Thank
All
you,
right, guys.
Josh. Did you have fun, Josh?
I did. He's a good guy. Like, you know.
He took it well.
Oh, yeah. He's.
I don't think that was the intention today, but
No.
Well, the problem is that's what it always devolves down to. And this is what I was saying is the leading question that's going to be have to be flushed out in the next decade is what is an American. And we need to have these conversations. I wish we had a bigger audience to have those conversations. But no, I like Joe. He's a good guy.
Gonna miss him.
He's just they're just boomers, man, that they can't understand.
He's in his 70s. You can't really blame him for not getting
Correct.
the racial realism
I
thing.
got the call. Where was this at?
The chat demands I wear a little hat. Well,
Where's your hat, Josh?
if the chat can drum up $100, I'll make it happen.
Ooh. Can I make a goal? Well, we'll have to do it another day. Because Josh said he's got to leave for some reason. Like he's got a life or something.
I've got a curfew.
Master
gonna
Oh,
whip
you got to
me.
get some sleep. You sleep tonight?
I got like 3 hours last night.
Dude, you're
man.
like 20 something. You don't need sleep.
I demand it.
Uh,
One of the callers called in last week talking about this, and he was like, "This generation is so lazy. I grew up in a van." You know, it's like, okay, well, a van in the 70s, and the guy's is the pagan guy. It's probably because your family were freaks, and also it shouldn't have to be that way.
I blanked out for half a second. Sorry.
Jewish as charged, Josh.
Do you want to run through some more of these as we did the other day? See what they're saying? Because I know we talked about them. We can do it real quick. I know we keep getting hung up, but let's see. Rebuild cities. Yeah, right. Sure. Strengthen and modernize our military, making it, without question, the strongest and most powerful military in the world. Well, we do have military funding, and that is possible. I don't think we've done it yet. Keep U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. If I'm elected, the dollar is so secure, your reserve currency is the strongest it'll ever be. I think they were announcing some crypto stuff the other day, but Trump said he would never make the federal dollar crypto backed. What you laughing at?
Josh on Josh love. Me and Josh, I need to kiss and make up.
He said we toss around good guy too liberally.
No, is it? See, this is my problem with some of these people is like you got to meet people where they are, and I'll give Joe credit. Joe is in his 70s. He was a college professor, and he came on the radio show. I mean, you guys didn't see this, obviously, but like he came on the radio show I work for. That's how he and I met. And he was criticizing Israel. He was pointing out like Jewish hypocrisy. He was pointing out that our nation is run by Jews. He's come and he used to be a liberal. He admitted to used to being a registered Democrat and a straight up liberal. He's come a long way. And simply because the last bit is that he's not a racist like we are. Credit where credit is due.
Let's see. What are some of his biblical Babylon? Babylon was one of them. He's got some pretty good. I've read a few of them. I haven't read all of them, but he's got some pretty good essays in this book. It's called Sunken Leadership. I think you can get it on Amazon. It's not expensive at all. I don't know how much of y'all read. Chat doesn't act like they read. They can barely type. Where are we at? Boom, boom, bang. First of all, thank everybody for the memberships. I know it's not a lot of money, but it does boost the stream, so that's really why it's there. And also, I like $2 apparently. Let's see. Speaking on we use good guy too liberally, I wanted to knock this down probably solo, but since we're talking about it right now,
I got time for like one more thing. Then I gotta go.
Okay, we'll do this one real quick. This was whoa. I didn't read through the full thread. I just read this first one, and I want to knock it down because it's relevant to this conversation that we're having. Why can't I? All right, close enough. Whoa typed out, he said, the friend enemy distinction is a worthless tool without proper grasp of power dynamics. When someone who is sort of on side on some things expresses some views you know have downsides, and that person has way more pull than you, the best course is to persuade them. Right? Does that make sense to you, Josh?
Yeah.
Basically what he's saying is don't burn bridges when there's a possibility for increased engagement. And you could apply this kind of concept to me
Elijah
reaching
Schaefer.
out to yeah, I mean you could say Elijah. I mean I haven't burned that bridge, or at least I don't think I have. Or the Myron thing, right? So I mean, me having Myron on, we have somewhat aligned a few of them positions that we agree with that we can probably achieve. I would rather persuade him on polygamy, right? This is one that's kind of going off right now on with him and Andrew Tate against Walsh and some of the others that I'll probably cover tomorrow. Right? These people we agree with in a certain aspects, but not all, can benefit us. We shouldn't burn bridges when we have much, much larger issues that we can conquer together. If that makes sense. I think that's what I was talking about. In fact, I know that's what I was talking about. Let's read through the rest of it because he didn't have all this when I first saved it. The fact that they're exponentially more well-connected makes their errors that much more harmful due to their greater influence. But the fact that they're on side with other things where they're persuading on your behalf can't be ignored. That's the power element of the equation. Yes, the online right's insistence on tearing apart every single person who steps out of line is an out-of-whack immune response. There's a world full of differences between this is bad take and this guy is sent to destroy us from within. Either might be true. This is an issue the right has just in general, and specifically the new right or even the Christian right, is that we are too accountable. We force accountability on each other too much. Dude, I can't read that. Can you read that, Josh? My eyeball's starting to hurt.
Which one?
I guess the next one.
That one?
Yeah.
When
I need glasses.
When we target a guy who is posting Cole today, who was posting gyms yesterday, and declare him an enemy of everything we hold dear, we are clearly communicating that there's zero value in the good he is doing and zero upside to agreeing with us in part rather than in whole.
Bing bang pow. Next. You can make friends of some enemies without budging, but you will never make a friend of an enemy you declare your intention to destroy. And making an enemy of someone with a vastly larger bully pulpit is a net loss for your own side. We have more than enough of those already. Yes. This is a long thread. Dude, I saved it when I was like 1. Anyway, it's actually okay to ignore some coal. Make mental note that somebody has some problems and see if there's something you can do to bring them along over time. Stone Choir did an entire episode on this, and it bears repeating. Persuasiveness matters is the episode. I know we got some new guys here. If y'all haven't listened to Stone Choir, it's worth listening to. If you disagree, it's still worth listening to. There's plenty there to work with. Go ahead and read that next one if you don't mind.
The one you're on right now?
Yeah, this one.
The right's perpetual 2-minute hate cycle is a betrayal of our impotence and its entirely self-inflicted wound. Winners don't act like this, and no one who acts like a loser can win. Maybe worry less about what others are getting wrong and more about how you're reinforcing it.
Last one. And anyone who thinks that I'm throwing myself under the bus with this thread just doesn't like me, period. I don't do anything that violates any of these principles. If you can't understand the difference, that's not a me problem. Yeah, good thread. It kind of made its point at the beginning, but it's about, basically the thread says, don't be a retard if you want to win. Right? If there's leverage to be had and someone agrees with you on a position, don't burn that bridge to persuade them on another issue or even just fight the singular issue in front of you, right? So if we're arguing, in this case, if we're arguing against polygamy against Myron and Andrew Tate with Matt Walsh, we will take that side, right? Even though we disagree with Walsh on some things, and in the same breath, I can work with Myron on the Jewish question, right? And we can persuade him on polygamy later, which I know he doesn't take a hard stand on, but it's kind of a cop out. But anyway,
Absolutely.
just kind of, I thought that thread was worth getting through today. Josh, you said you got to go?
Yeah, and I will be back on Wednesday.
All right. I'll be solo tomorrow then. If you want me to react to things tomorrow, chat, I will. Just shoot it in chat, and we'll react to it. I'll probably do an hour by myself, and then we'll just make that a Wednesday thing. What are we gonna call it?
The Andrew Tate thing?
No, react chat react. Send in link chats.
Ooh.
Before we go light stream, while you're here.
Yappersville.
Yeah. Blind react. Blind chat submissions. Lawai. Isn't that what Pretty Pie called it? Leave your comments and us a very the next episode of Lawai. Yeah. PewDiePie called it Lawai. We need to and also if you want to get on the group chat on Twitter, that's how I'm operating right now until I can build out a Discord or whatever needs to be built out. We will. We'll do that. All right, chat. Anything else before we go, Josh?
About sums it up for today.
Why are you not going to be here tomorrow?
My friend is in town, and he's about to have a baby, so I'll never see him again.
Tell him to come on.
He's at Myrtle Beach.
He don't want to.
In town, as
us.
in he's in Myrtle Beach.
Oh, you going to the beach?
Yeah,
Josh
I'm
is going to the beach.
Yeah, I'm going to the beach.
Josh actually has a life or
I
something.
don't want to go to Myrtle Beach though, but that's where they're at.
You late,
Well,
Lord?
you can rewind it.
I thought it was pretty good, dude.
Yeah, I thought it was a good show.
It turned into
That's
a
why-
debate stream,
that's
which
why,
is
like,
fine.
We need another guy. That's why I like having Rodney on, but he's
but
he's
we never-
abandoned us.
Yeah, but I got things lined up that I wanted to get to that we're never going to get to because it's a debate stream.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It's if we add another person, it needs to be like
That would require you to act as a
moderator, hard moderator.
Yeah, the straight man. Which
Dude, chat killed it today. I will give y'all that. I liked having Randy in here. What's he say? I have hung out with skinheads, KKK Peckerwoods. They're everything they hate. I don't know what's a Peckerwood.
That's like a country bumpkin.
Hillbilly? Just
Yeah,
another
like
name for hillbilly.
They're roasting Joe. I feel bad because Joe's a genuinely good guy and his heart's in the right place and he's real smart. He's come a long way. But because he doesn't Nate Higgers, you guys are freaking out.
All right, boys. It's about 5:15. Josh said he's got to get out of here and get some sleep like an idiot. We just got to work our life away, Josh. That's all you got to do.
Believe me, it'd be.
Peckerwood is a prison Nazi. Is the non's N word for white people?
Good Lord.
Is it though?
I didn't realize this was like our group chat for this show.
Yep. Thank you guys. Solid chat today. Ladies and gentlemen, I will be here tomorrow by myself.
You gonna do this or kick rocks?
It'll probably be Kick Rocks. It's the same thing. I'm gonna file it all under one. When we rebrand, I'll just file it all under one. We're gonna do that. We got a lot of work on Takes time. Like I said, we need more memberships so that I can get Josh to quit. Like a lot more memberships.
Please.
Like maybe a couple thousand. And the super chat today from Stacking Coins, or AKA Frank the Tank. But I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, we will catch you tomorrow. If you haven't liked stream, like stream. If you haven't subscribed, sub. And if you think it's worth sharing,
Please do.
do it.
Adios.
Pieces.